are you an atheist or are you anti-theistic?
Oh my god.
No, that's not what Destiny's saying. Ah! A cosmic nihilist.
Listen, Queeman, you DM'd me. You asked me to ask the question. I asked the question. I'm not gay, and Steven gave you an answer. So there we go. Okay.
Vegan Kate, shut the f up. Why are you here? No! No, Connor, no.
Hello. How's it going?
Hi. I'm dying of allergies again. I wanted to share something with you real quick.
Yes, you can, of course.
Connor exposed talking to Destiny about his own proclivities.
I would love to go to the bar up the road. I would love to get hammered. I would love to smoke cigarettes. I would love to engage in short but pleasurable relationships with a whole bunch of people.
What do you think? He was being dead serious.
Okay, I saw he had a debate with Destiny, and I was thinking of watching that. What was he talking about?
Yeah, actually, I would be super interested in what, because he talks about Christianity and morality and stuff, and then he leads into like the quote unquote what he calls the dramas that took place. But definitely, I'd be interested in what you have to say about what he has to say about Christianity and whatnot. You should definitely watch it. I'd love to see you cover it.
Yeah, I might have a look at that.
Yeah.
I might have a look at that. And you know what? In line with a Destiny style coverage. Okay, I'm probably gonna go play Minecraft while I do it. I'm probably gonna play Minecraft while I do it. Okay.
Play button. It's actually back here on the shelf.
Nice.
And then also I work for a channel called Valor Media Network, which is a bunch of vets and first responders and nerds trying to make a better space for young men to hang out and consume content.
Okay. I was going to ask about the Warhammer stuff, because I feel like I read something. I feel like a Reddit thread popped up where people were complaining. I don't know why it was the Warhammer thing, but that some of the figurines might end up going up in cost significantly. Do you have any idea if there's any truth to this?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're totally screwed, 100%. Like the United Kingdom already, Games Workshop already manufactures these things at a very high premium, and they also won't let you participate in tournaments unless they're the official merchandise from the company. And then if they get smacked with tariffs, then yeah, we're going to be paying $100 for 5 figures that we then have to spend 3 hours a piece painting.
Damn. Do you know? Wait, first, I don't. We haven't talked about the Warcraft.
Yeah, f*** America. He won the popular vote. You voted him in. You fucking deserve him. Okay. If that means that you can't afford your little autism toys, I don't give a fuck. Okay. Suffer. Okay.
Or I'm sorry, the Warhammer stuff too much. Did you ever know In Control?
I don't know In Control.
Oh, okay. He was a pretty good StarCraft 2 player. He was a really funny commentator guy, and he was also into Warhammer. So I was just curious, but okay. You like paint all your stuff. You're like very big into all of that.
I have 3,000. This is my wife's kitten figurines that she threw up back here as a joke. But up here are 3 IKEA dresser stocks full. This is Imperial Guard. And then I have 3 layers of Death Watch. All in all, it's probably $2,000 worth of figurines, and I probably painted each model a minimum of 3 hours.
Damn. How common is it when you show up to a tournament? Does everybody have like custom painted stuff, or does anybody just show up with like the stock plastic mold injection?
Yeah. No, there's plenty of people who are just gamers, and so as a result, they will do no paint job or a minimal paint job.
Okay.
Connor beats his wife, bro. It's crazy. Okay. That's not true, okay? That's not true, although I know the clip that you're referring to. Because I saw that clip, and I saw him basically say, like, you know what? I can take a lot of things, but that really upsets me. That really upsets me when people do that to me, okay? It makes me very, very angry. It's like, why are you saying this? Why are you telling me this?
And then, big question. Okay, this is like in the cosplay world. When you show up to some of these, do people make fun of you if you got other people to paint your things, or do the people with painted custom stuff usually do it themselves?
No, the people with painted custom stuff, there is a premium that you can pay professional studios in order to paint your stuff. As a matter of fact, I have a relationship with a paint studio.
No, look, okay. Nah, this is fact because it's funny. I understand it. I dislike Connor. I dislike Connor, right, as much or maybe more than many, many people, okay? However, that's fucking insane to say that. It's fucking insane to say that, okay? I will not participate in it. I will not support it, okay? I will not support it. Jesus Christ.
Called mastermind model.
You can have fun. You just can't make, like, baseless accusations of, like, domestic abuse, okay? Okay?
And miniatures out of Huntsville, Alabama, and they will take a miniature and they will turn it into a work of art. It's wildly expensive, but it's effectively like showing up to a tournament with a Rolex when you can show up with like the perfect list with the perfect paint job.
Okay. All right. Was just curious.
Okay.
That's all I got for you.
All right, then let me go into my morality list. And if you're ever curious about Warhammer, I will literally talk to you for 6 hours about Warhammer. So don't worry about.
The only thing I know about Warhammer basically is that they copied their entire story from StarCraft, but otherwise, yeah.
The inverse, but that's okay. And also, for those of you who might be curious in the audience, Warhammer is basically Warhammer 40k in particular is if you took Lord of the Rings, Dune, and other science fiction IPs like Dread, you put them in a blender, you blended them up, and then you put them 40,000 years into the future. So if you're interested in that, then check out Counterpoints40k.
Oh my god. I don't know why Connor is essentially just having like a friendly conversation with Destiny. Obviously, I guess he's probably having a special conversation now because he started streaming again. Or he started streaming regularly, I should say. Destiny's chat was calling him a sweeper. No way. Is that real? Destiny's chat was calling Connor a sweeper. Jesus Christ. But anyway, after the conversation with me and Ryle, I mean, obviously, who the fuck are we, right? But he seemed to be like one HP voice, essentially being like, oh, yeah, I mean, you know, what Destiny's doing is like super fucked up and stuff. And so I was genuinely surprised to see him like on Destiny's stream at all, right? Having like a public association with the guy. But then I'll to be real, maybe this is me being like short-sighted. I was genuinely surprised to hear him talk about Christian morality and try and push this point of his about Christian morality instead of talking about, I don't know, the doxing stuff that you agreed was like incredibly fucked up and didn't support and didn't like. It's like, oh, you know.
No.
Are you agnostic? Are you an atheist? Or are you anti-theistic?
Oh my god.
For purposes of this conversation,
Oh.
I'll say I'm an atheist.
Okay. So yeah, all right, I got it.
For more
Then
specifically, I would
what do
say
you
I'm an
think about-
agnostic atheist. Gnosticism is a stance on whether or not you can have information about God, and I'd say no, so I'm agnostic. And then atheism, I don't believe in a God, so I'd say no. I don't know how much this will matter, but yeah, okay.
It won't matter. Connor's too retarded to take that into consideration.
I think there's a super high functioning utility. I think they solve 3 really important problems for most people, yeah.
Okay, so even if you yourself don't believe, you still think that those moral systems probably carry some kind of like moral code that a lot of people will not only see utility in, but can make society a better place?
Yeah, it could, yeah. There's utility in, yeah.
Okay. Then what do you think about like the mythology versus what's like literally true? So as an example, one of the things that I watched yesterday was Jordan Peterson talking about how like the Christian metaphysical cultural landscape is based off of like embracing suffering through the cross. And so I would say that would have like a mythological utility, even if you don't believe it literally. So how do you differentiate like what's mythological in religion versus what's real and what's important and what's not?
God, this is so annoying about Connor as well, is that so little of what he says is like original, thought through, interesting, right? It's like a lot of it is like Jordan Peterson dick sucking, you know? That's literally it. And so Jordan Peterson goes on what's his face? Goes on Piers Morgan and basically just blubs and cries and says all the things that Jordan Peterson has been saying for like the last 5 years. And Connor is like, damn, Jordan Peterson said this the other day, and it made me like really impressed, and it made me think a lot. It's like, what did he say that was new? He cried and talked about like the reality in the myth of Christianity. It's like, yeah.
All of it should be important if it's a good, coherent religion, and I think at least the 3 big ones of the book are all pretty consistent and internally, like, so everything should be important. The way that I was taught growing up is, I don't think most of my teachers wanted to make strong statements on whether or not everything in the Bible was true or false, but at the very least, even if something is not true, it's trying to communicate a true story. So when Jesus would tell parables, I don't believe that those were supposed to be taken as like true stories, but the parable was used to illustrate a point. So even if it's not true, it's just like you can learn.
Yeah, this is decent actually. This is a decent thing from Destiny.
Moral lessons from fiction. Like Harry Potter isn't a real story, but you could probably learn that you should treat your friends well or be a good person from that, if that makes sense. Right.
Okay, cool. And then I agree. I'm not like a religious literalist. I'm more of somebody who tries to take it as like a metaphor for like moral lessons. But I think I probably put more emphasis on those moral lessons than maybe you do. But we'll get into that. So, are you a cosmic nihilist? And by that I mean like
A cosmic nihilist. A cosmic nihilist. Okay. 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 This is the annoying thing about Connor, right? Is that he uses philosophical terms, right? He uses philosophical terms, but he uses them in the most, like, pretentious, like, just bloviaty way possible. And they essentially mean nothing, right? So generally, there's, like, several types of, like, nihilism. Like, epistemological nihilism. You're not convinced anything can really be, like, known. Moral nihilism. You're not convinced that, like, good and evil exist. And there are other ones, but it's usually, like, you don't know if something is true or can be known, or you think that, like, a property isn't true. And so you can be, like, you know, you can be nihilistic about whether, like, you know, reality exists, facts exists, right? But cosmic nihilism, nihilism about the cosmos? Nihilism about the cosmos? I've got no idea what that even means.
the cosmos does not care about whether or not we exist, and also like there's no consequence to whether or not we exist.
Fuck. So the universe doesn't care about whether we exist. I mean, if you want to have a debate in those kind of terms, okay? If you want to have a debate in those kind of terms, what the fuck does that even mean for the cosmos to be... to care about you? The cosmos isn't God? Or what? Dude, I don't like this guy. I fucking hate him.
I'll probably just say yes. I think I probably would agree with that, yeah.
Okay. And then with nihilism, nihilism can oftentimes be associated with cynicism. So it's kind of viewed as like a negative thing, like where a lot of people fall into like anxiety or depression if they don't believe that anything ultimately has any value. One of the philosophers...
Nobody thinks this, okay? Nobody who talks about philosophy ever thinks that what nihilism is like essentially what you fall into when you're like depressed. The only people who think this is like retarded Jordan Peterson sucks.
that I thought was interesting was like absurd.
And the only reason why Jordan Peterson thinks this is that whenever he quotes people discussing nihilism, he quotes Nietzsche, whose entire like moral, his entire like, well, a good part of his like philosophical like career was like shitting on nihilism, which is like not exactly a great insight into what a philosophical like, you know, kind of system is if you only read people who disagree with it and shit on it, right?
Okay, bro, you're getting too
Hey, thank you, Herbie, for the membership. And then it's like other people who do. Is it like Stephen Hicks? I think he's recommended a lot of Stephen Hicks books for like his intro to philosophy. It's like totally fucking awful. Anyway,
where you're just like, I'm gonna find meaning.
That's super fucking generous. Thank you.
Because life is so crazy and absurd that, you know, I'm gonna find purpose no matter what.
Yeah, I would agree with some blend of absurdism or existentialism. I haven't read enough on either of these philosophies to truly say I agree with them, but I'd probably
I'll just mute these while they roll through, but I appreciate it.
Okay. And then, are you a hedonist?
It depends on how you define it, I guess.
So the way that I would like minimally define it is maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain.
Defining hedonism as maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. Isn't that everyone? This is the thing. I mean, okay, so like, I might actually need to get like a paint out for this, okay? So, in terms of like consequentialism, right? Fuck it, I'm going full screen. Fuck. In terms of like consequentialism, realistically, you've got different schools of consequentialism, but they're not like really that distinct. Not really, in like terms of like their ethical views, right? They're not really that distinct. It's just usually in the realm that Connor's talking about. It's just like, you know, do you just like extend your like moral calculus to you and the consequences for you, or do you do it for like everyone? It is way too simple a definition, right? Because technically the definition he would give would define all consequentialists. All consequentialists after like after Bettany, right? After like utilitarianism is like developed. Way too fucking broad. Hedonism isn't even really like discussed too much. I don't think in philosophical literature. It's not really like a recognized term. I don't think I've ever read hedonism. Outside of like people talking about history, I've never read much about hedonism. Christians often use a very different definition for materialism than Marx did too, so when Marxists and Christians argue, it's always painful as hell. Yeah. It's just people talking past each other and doing like retarded like definition arguments.
I mean, I would say yes to that, but some people would call me reductive, and I would say that definitionally everybody is a hedonist. It just depends. But it's like the argument of like, are you altruistic if it feels good to be altruistic? I don't know. So I guess we'll put a pin on that. I'll say yes for now, but it depends on how you feel about that, I guess.
Well, then,
I mean, the problem is with like someone like Connor is, I mean, frankly, if you're starting out an argument with somebody, right, that they have brought to you, because absolutely Connor has brought this to Destiny. If you're starting out an argument with somebody with something they've brought to you, and you start so vapid as defining hedonism as like maximizing pleasure, minimizing pain, it's like you just know the entire conversation is going to be totally fucking worthless.
And this might get into a little bit more specifics.
Sure.
So there was an example in Greek history, Greek philosophy, whatever, where there was a old hedonist who was on the verge of dying, and I think Plato, Socrates, whoever was traveling in order to talk to him, and he was making sacrifices to the gods. And Socrates was like, why are you making sacrifices to the gods? You don't even believe in any of the gods. And he was like, well, actually, this follows my hedonist philosophy of I'm trying to maximize pleasure, minimize pain. Therefore, if I make the correct sacrifices to the gods and they are real, and then I die, then basically I'm, doing that. He also, I think in this book, he criticized the immature hedonists, who were people who were always trying to like pursue sex, pleasure, wine, drugs, partying, all that kind of stuff. And he was saying that like as he matured through his hedonism, he found that actually the things that ended up giving him pleasure and minimizing pain were the traditional things like, family, community, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So how do you view like our cursory understanding of hedonism with the way that you were conducting yourself previously and the way that you're conducting yourself now?
I mean, it depends. So what definition of hedonism are we going with, I guess?
I mean, it's still maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain, but I think a lot of people would say that... How are we defining
like pleasure and pain, I guess is my question, yeah.
Well, sexual pleasure, drugs, material pleasure.
When I say pleasure, so like for instance, some people genuinely like... Well, here, so we can use like sexual pleasure, okay? So...
No, Connor's using a very fucking reductive view that like... Oh my god, okay. So, when people describe like consequentialism, right? In terms of like the consequences, how do you measure the consequences? Oh, like, benefit and pleasure and minimizing pain. We think about pleasure as like sexual pleasure. Or you like eat food and like, it's like super tasty. It's like super, super good. It's like the height of like, not really happiness, but like enjoyment, whatever. That's not really what people mean. And usually like, if you use the word like well-being, it means the exact same thing. It's like being healthy, having community, stuff like that. What Connor is saying does not target hedonism at all. He's not questioning the like ethical, like meta-ethical like basis of hedonism. He's just like, I don't know, like criticizing a certain lifestyle and then pretending like it's a very philosophical, meta-ethical critique. It's not.
Let's say you have a person who has sex with their husband or wife, and they don't necessarily enjoy it as much, but they do it because they feel like it's a duty that they have to fulfill that role or responsibility in a relationship. And then they do that, and they get pleasure from that. Would we consider that person hedonistic? Or like if a person likes to enjoy, they like to attend their children's games because they just like watching their kids play sports. Are we calling that hedonistic, or are we going to load this with a little bit more definition? Yeah.
Well, so I would put it in, because we probably all exist on a spectrum, and therefore I think that you're right that we are all hedonistic in our own ways. I think that you could argue that even some of my
No, that's not what Destiny's saying. Oh!
Okay. What Destiny is saying, right, is, okay, let's say that somebody acts the way that you are saying, they support their community, they live like a traditional family lifestyle, but they do it for personal pleasure. They genuinely enjoy doing those things. Does that then rob it of, like, virtue or, like, value? Or does that make them hedonistic? Because they're doing all these things that you want, but they're doing it for personal reasons. Destiny's basically questioning the thing of, like, is this hedonism that you're targeting, or is it just you want to promote a certain lifestyle?
altruistic and self-sacrificial behaviors are ultimately hedonistic, but oftentimes they're compared to the philosophies of stoicism and then also like virtue ethics. And so when it comes to stoicism, oftentimes it's more about like being able to control your own mind, not getting upset by the day-to-day affairs, kind of being, I would say, detached. I'm sure Stoics would disagree with me, but I seriously think that they almost have like a Buddhist level of detachment from reality. Whereas virtue ethicists effectively say like, hey, we've identified these 11 virtues that we think that all humans should abide by in order to achieve a good life. And therefore, even if these things are painful, you should pursue these virtues nonetheless. And so those would be, especially in the Greek context, I think those would be the other competing philosophies at the time.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to suggest a definition that I think maybe we'll both agree with, and then we'll kind of go from there. So how about we say that there are, that you can have principled beliefs in like what would create a better world. We call these just like moral goods, I guess, the ways that people should act. And then
this is the problem as well. Stuck in like ancient discourses of fucking philosophy, as if like ancient Greece holds the most like understandable, like, or understanding, knowledgeable, like wise versions of philosophy. These are ancient fucking ideas that you're arguing. It's like, also, yeah, retarded idea of stoicism. But the problem is hedonism and stoicism, the way that he's talking about it, I'm guessing he's talking about like Epicurean hedonism. And then I guess like Marcus Aurelius kind of, stoicism. It's not even like a coherent it's not even a coherent philosophy necessarily, right? The same way that like ethical nihilism would be. It's like a kind of a vibe. Is that I think the best way to describe it, it's a kind of vibe of philosophy. More than anything. I don't know, it's like talking about feminists versus communists. It's like it's not really necessarily like an overlap. Like, if somebody's a political activist, they probably lean towards one way or the other. You'd group them in a particular camp, but they're not really even asking the same questions or, like, focusing on the same things.
Let's say that there are some short-term things that we can do that won't necessarily improve the world. They can avoid those things, and they can do things that are a little bit more principally adherent that would improve the world but might avoid some level of pleasure-seeking. If a person does primarily the former, they just like pleasure seek and they don't do much to improve the world, we would call that person more hedonistic. And then on the latter, if somebody is trying to remain principled and they might forego some short-term or simpler pleasures in order to either seek more fulfillment or improve the world, we'll call that person less hedonistic. Is that
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Gotcha. Okay, so that we'll roll with that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so how would you perceive, because I think I could make an argument, especially up through like 2023.
Wait, Miro. It wasn't me. I did give some guy a few stacks of netherite, though. You're saying that as if he's a complete stranger. Who is this some guy? A few stacks? I want usernames. I want times. I want dates, okay? There's been a hate crime perpetrated against me. And you're saying some guy. Okay.
That you were somebody who was pleasure seeking. And then, you know, there's some statements that you've made that have said like, oh, well, I reeled that back. I'm now pursuing like higher ambitions. And so I'm kind of like, you know, how do you perceive yourself within that framework?
I would be really careful about using any past statements I made about this, because every single person I talk to is going to have slightly different views on what it means to be either of those things. So it's possible that with one person I'll say like, oh yeah, like I believe in, you know, like hedonism, and then another person I might like flesh this out more because it depends on. But so I'll just say that we can look at any past statements I made if you want. I would say
should I be specific?
Or if you want to get into any of the specifics, I guess we can, yeah. Or if you want to get into specific statements, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like in if you're like, hey, this is getting too personal or whatever, then I'm totally fine with keeping it more general. However, I would have like evidence to you where I would say like, oh, I think you pursued, you know, you were engaging in more pleasure-seeking behavior than you were prescriptive moral goods.
Okay.
Or maybe you have a totally different perception where you felt like you were pursuing both at the same time. However, what I would point to, I think the one that's popping into my mind the most aggressively is there was a conversation that you were having, I think with Orbiters, I think it was with Brittany, Abba, and Melina, and they were talking about how schizophrenic the drama cycles had been, specifically with Lav and Mr. Girl, and you were like, listen, this is what I enjoy, this is what I want to do, and so as a result, if our relationships, I think you were talking about in reference to Melina and Abba and Brittany, you were like, if our relationships suffer, then it is what it is, because this is what I enjoy and this is what I would want to do. And so that's where I would argue that you were engaging in pleasure-seeking behavior, because you were putting like some suffering into your system in order to pursue this higher pleasure.
You mean the...
What Connor's describing has nothing to do with hedonism at all. What Connor has to do is like, I don't know, being foolish or whatever. Accepting pain to pursue a greater pleasure in your mind is not the definition of hedonism. Hedonism doesn't even work. Hedonism doesn't work as a philosophy, okay? Talking about it as a philosophy and trying to compare it to other philosophies, it's like just God. Ah! Okay.
I was avoiding that, right? I was seeking a pleasure thing and avoiding like a higher fulfilling thing. I understand what you're saying.
Me?
Look at his face. That's my face when I have to listen to Connor.
I understand.
Yeah, I know how you feel, buddy. Okay, I know how you feel. How do you think I feel having to listen to you?
Me?
I understand
Maybe
what you're saying.
because you would have to sacrifice. You would have to sacrifice your immediate pleasure of engaging in drama in order to pursue these like higher level relationships with your Orbiters and Melina.
Sure, I think that when I think about stuff like that, I think I'm thinking in terms of insofar as like a relationship goes. I'm not necessarily thinking of that in terms of hedonism versus or pleasure seeking versus like something principally different there, because at that point the principally different thing that we're talking about is just my relationship with like Melina or some friend, I think. And I don't know if I would say that like I should have some, or I don't feel personally like you should have some strong principled attachment towards maintaining like those types of friendships or connections if they are, you know, severely out of alignment with what you might personally enjoy doing in life. I don't know if that's like a thing I would feel principally attached to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's where I would say.
I mean, what Connor needs to talk about here, right, isn't even really like, it doesn't fit cleanly into like ethics. He's trying to make it really like highbrow and really like philosophical or whatever. But realistically, what he should be interested in is like, if you were to, let's say you've got a relationship for like 4 years, right? You're dating this person for like 4 years, and a new job comes up. And you've got to move to another country to pursue it, right? This is like, the promotion is insane. You were like on level 2 of your career, and this maybe this takes you all the way to like level 5, right? Otherwise, if you were to pass this up, this would take like years and years and years, maybe decades of like work to be able to pursue, right? If you can't move with them They say, I don't want to move with you. Okay, this is too much. I can't move with you. Is it just doing pleasure seeking to say, okay, unfortunately my work is really important to me. This relationship might not work out. You know, thank you for the time we had. We might have to break up, right? If you really can't move with me, this promotion might be better, right? You might think that's shallow to do, or you might think you wouldn't do that. But is that really like hedonistic pleasure seeking? If your career is important to you, or should you put your relationship of 4 years above everything, right? It's like it doesn't neatly fit into like an ethics conversation. It's like, I don't know, what would be the more moral thing to do? What values are like? How much money are we talking about? I mean, that's the thing, right? That's the thing.
That
it's like that kind of shallow kind of conversation.
At least in my opinion, my understanding of it would argue that, like, you know, you're supposed to be you know, temperate. You're not supposed to pursue pleasure necessarily. You're supposed to, you know, kind of be really controlled about your emotions and your relationships and all that kind of stuff. And so they would see, in my opinion, they would see sacrificing relationships in order to pursue that as contrary to their philosophy. And then I'm almost certain that with they call it like the Nicomachean ethics of Aristotle, it's 11 different virtues. And it's like courage, temperance, liberality, magnificence, so on and so forth. But some of it is truthfulness, wittiness, and friendliness. They would see that.
And being realistic, like, again, the type of virtue ethics that he's like espousing is like how many centuries old? This is like millennia old. I don't know if virtue ethicists today believe there is like only like 12 fucking virtues. Oh, I've been given this. But yeah, it's like so fucking retarded.
You sacrificing those relationships in order to pursue a higher pleasure, they would view that as like contradictory to Aristotelian virtue ethics.
Sure, let's
Fucking
dump
hell.
I don't think we necessarily need the schools of thought on this.
No, we don't. No, we don't. You're so right. Fuck. I can't believe that I'm like agreeing with Destiny over Connor. Even in it, oh my god, in a conversation between Destiny and Connor over like virtue ethics, I'm somehow like hating Destiny more. You can equip your hook in a bauble slot, by the way. Yeah, don't worry. I know. It's a spare one that I have.
In particular, I guess the question I would ask is there something necessarily virtuous by giving up something that you enjoy?
Because realistically, there are way more important conversations you can have here with Destiny, right? You can literally just speak to him about the doxing. Like pseudo-philosophical like conversation that he's trying to have about like hedonism and ethics and stuff just isn't interesting.
Way for the sake of like a friendship or relationship. Because I feel like
I mean,
I don't see necessarily like I don't think there's necessarily anything like virtuous or good there, or that I would say one thing or another about a person.
I would, and I think this is actually like central to the way that I conduct my life. So I think that I have impulsive behavior where I would frankly I would love to go to the bar up the road. I would love to get hammered. I would love to smoke cigarettes. I would love to engage in short but pleasurable relationships with a whole bunch of people.
Mhm.
However, I think that I am serving a higher good by being loyal to my wife, by being loyal to my children, by not spending our money on alcohol, not spending our alcohol or our money on tobacco. And so as a result, it is a certain amount of temperance.
I would say there's a lot of things in there that you just said that would be like morally good. So when you talk about, I'm guessing you're a big believer in marriage and everything, right? Like that's a real thing for you.
At minimum, like I said, I'm not a religious literalist, but I do think that it serves a social function that's really important. Yeah.
What did Destiny just ask?
Guessing you're a big believer in marriage and everything, right?
You're a big believer in marriage, right? Yeah, like, I don't believe in the literal death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, but my view on it, yes, just say yes.
Like that's a real thing for you.
At minimum, like I said, I'm not a religious literalist, but I do think that it serves a social function that's really important. Yeah.
Well, no, like I'm saying, like when you do like vows to your wife and everything, like till death do us part, I'm assuming that those are like literal, like you very much mean those, right?
Yeah. And if I break those vows, I would view it as a horrible break on my end.
Yeah. So like for this, I would say that the question of like hedonism or anything like there, doesn't even have, like, that doesn't even factor in. When you talk about not spending money on alcohol, not being disloyal to your wife or whatever, these things to me feel like these are like obligations that you've literally agreed to. And so doing things that would be contrary to those obligations that you ought to fulfill, I would say, yeah, those are bad for sure, without even entering into any question of hedonism. Even if you were doing things that weren't hedonistic, like let's say that you said, I want to become a Hindu, monk or Buddhist monk or whatever, and I'm going to leave my whole family and go and practice this. Like, I would say that's probably not good, even though that's definitely not hedonistic, but you're breaking all those obligations, and I would say that's why it would be bad. But like, let's say that you were a guy who was dating a girl and you've been dating for a year, and she really had an issue with you playing video games, but you really enjoyed playing video games, and she was like, I need you to quit playing video games or I'm going to break up with you. I don't know if I would say, well, that person's being hedonistic by preferring video games to his girlfriend. I would say, well, they're probably just not compatible, and this would be...
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole fucking can of worms, but I was about to say the exact same thing. Like, ultimately, Connor's question, if Destiny was going to consider it, isn't going to be on, well, do I like honor marriage or whatever? Is that like an ultimate virtue? He's not going to respect things like that on principle. I don't think many people are, realistically, if they're not religious. It's going to be like, yeah, well, you agree to something, and essentially you should stick to your agreement, right? Your partner expects something because you've agreed it with them. Like, what the fuck is it called? Monogamy. They expect monogamy, they expect like a certain amount of time with you, right? And basically because, you've entered into an agreement with them on that basis, then yeah, they are kind of entitled to that, and you are obligated to return it to them. It's like, dude.
Just be a dividing thing here.
Well, yeah, but I actually would make a qualitative analysis. So for instance, like one of the things that I'm diving into content-wise is obviously a whole bunch of conservatives complaining about like the NEET, not employed in education or training, young men who are not married, who are not dating, who are not doing this, who are not doing that. And as a result, it's causing like a collapsing birth rate and then all of the onset economic and social effects as a result of those choices. And so I am not either an individualist or a collectivist. I'm like a communitarian. I think that the individual and the collective are in constant flux. But if the individual, you're saying that
the individual and the communal are in constant flux. You can tell he's a Jordan Peterson fan because he says words that sound very impressive and interesting, but ultimately communicates nothing. You have to ask him, what the fuck do you mean by that? The individual and the communal are in constant flux? Ah, of course. The individual and the communal are in constant flux. Of course. Huh?
you wouldn't put a moral judgment on a NEET who plays video games, who chooses the pleasure of video games over a relationship. I would make a moral judgment, and I would.
What are we talking about now, dude? Connor just has a phenomenal talent for just talking utter bollocks. He's got a phenomenal talent for essentially saying nothing or irrelevant shit. He's always been like this. Always been like this. Years and years and years of fucking Twitch poll debates hasn't helped him at all.
But he's making a mistake.
Okay, sure. I would be careful if we're going to start roping in a bunch of like higher philosophy into this, just because it's the conversation. I think subject matter changes a lot, because I would say that now we're talking about like, we're not really talking about hedonism or any of that anymore. Now we're talking about, you know, like what is the moral obligation that a person has to society writ large. And at that point, again, we can abandon hedonism completely and just talk about like if a person wants to
so what are we talking about NEETs?
Meditating in the forest, you know, that person would be arguably just as bad to you as a person who is purely hedonistic but still had a family. That person might even be better, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I kind of fell in love with, if you'll indulge me, the Nicomachean ethics.
If you'll indulge me.
At heart, I'm a never Trump Republican. I really am. And what's cool about the Aristotelian values is that
Destiny says, don't rope in this higher, like, philosophical stuff because it's going to distract us. Destiny was literally about to make a point about, like, relationships, and he was going to answer Connor's question. He asks one fucking clarifying question about Connor's attitude towards, like, marriage, and then he goes on about NEETs and, like, the obligations of a person to, like, society in general, and how the personal and the communal are in constant flux. And now we're on to Nicomachean ethics. I fucking hate him.
Not only does Aristotle talk about the values, like the 11 values, he also talks about their extreme and the positive and the negative. So courage can have a extreme in one direction and extreme in the other. That's part of the reason why I think it's actually...
Wow, Aristotle talked about how like things that were otherwise virtuous can have extremes that are like negative. What a profound thought. What a profound thought that I'm sure you couldn't just say on its own. I think really we do need to reference Aristotle to bring up the fact that things that could be virtuous on their own, if taken to extremes, can go too far.
Actually really rich as like a philosophy is because the way that hedonism actually, hold on, there's a word for this. It's, I think it's...
Why do they keep referencing college philosophy classes? I don't think Connor or Destiny have ever like taken philosophy in college. But I mean, Destiny's actually like, he doesn't lie about how well versed he is in philosophy, right? He doesn't lie about how well versed he is in philosophy. Connor acts like he's got a very deep knowledge of philosophy. It's very, very annoying. It's very annoying.
It's temperance. I think it's literally sexual temperance. I think that Aristotle talks about sexual temperance where being asexual and being a monk who lives in the woods with no social relationships is as bad as being a hedonist. The reason why I brought up hedonist specifically in your context is because if I've described you many times as a nihilist hedonist. And what I mean by, I think you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would not want everybody in the universe to operate by your moral perspective, because I think that ultimately it would collapse society if everyone was Destiny.
That's probably true. Yeah. But I don't know.
That's probably true. Okay. So, what I'm expecting, okay? What I'm expecting is Destiny, I think, is a rule utilitarian, okay? And I believe Connor as well, because he just like copies a lot of Destiny's takes. But Destiny is a rule utilitarian, okay? So is Destiny admitting that if everyone were to act like him, because society would collapse, does he then admit that he acts in an unethical way? If how he acts were a rule, it would be immoral. So, does he act immorally? Maybe? Maybe? That's the question you're going to ask, surely, Connor.
Again, I don't think this necessarily plays right into like just hedonism or whatever else. I think there's another conversation that can happen here about what is an individual's obligation to society, right? Like, should women be working?
Oh yeah, why don't we dig in? What do you think an individual's obligation to society is?
No, no, Connor, no. Oh my god. Oh.
This is a guy who's been doing these conversations for years, by the way. He's been doing these conversations for years, by the way. He's been doing these... I'm genuinely... I need to chill out. I need to chill out, dude.
I mean, I would say, personally, my feeling is that society, I think, has given us quite a bit. Wait, this is supposed to be like a personal conversation, not a huge debate.
It's okay.
2 seconds. No, I know. I'm sorry. Vegan Games just jumped in. What do you have? What do you want, Vegan Games? Because I feel like he's about to drop a huge argument.
Oh, well, I actually wanted to get involved in this, if you're cool.
Wait, can you hop in towards the end, I guess, because Connor had a bunch of stuff he wanted to go over with me. Is that okay?
Well, I won't like derail the whole conversation and start talking about
Is Vegan Gains wearing Destiny merch right now? Is that a DGG blanket? Is that a Destiny.gg branded blanket? This sphere is disgusting. This entire content sphere is like, it turns my stomach.
So Steven,
I just wanted to like.
You're like what? Wearing the. You're wearing like what, the merch of like an to get cozy at night. Nathan Destiny's son got it for him as a Christmas present. So Destiny's son bought Vegan Gains a DGG blanket as a Christmas present, and he's got it wrapped around him in his streaming chair. Okay.
Actually,
I'm gonna put the ball in your court. Reason being, because I do have a list.
Yeah.
But I still think that
I am familiar with Vegan Gains. This level of fucking simpery is just new levels.
Get through the list as long as we're not screeching.
Okay.
So it's up to you.
Are you asking me about keeping Vegan Gains in? Or
Yeah, relatively speaking.
oh,
I'm
if
saying,
you're
I'm
okay
saying
with
if-
it, I'm
if-
fine with it. It's up to you.
Sure.
Okay.
People love they love a three-way.
Yeah, he said some things about nihilism that I
No,
disagree
wait.
with.
This is what I don't want to do. I don't want to do any big philosophy
Oh
breakdown.
my god, I remember this. Vegan Gains literally says he is like a nihilist and stuff, right? Like he is like totally fucking like pseudo-intellectual, like retarded on this. Like he says that nihilism helped cure him of his depression. Like it's like he says that nihilism is the best way to live, like for your mental health. And when he says nihilism, he means like not caring about stuff. Oh my god.
What it means to be a nihilist? What it means to be a suicide? It's not relevant to any of this. We should.
I'm not gonna derail. I'm not gonna derail.
All right.
I'm not gonna derail. I promise.
Okay,
Well-
just as a heads
well,
up, I'm
actually-
giving this. I've got like in my mind, there's a 15-minute evaluation on this convo, and if it's not working, I'm just gonna go back to just the two of us. Okay? 'Cause if this ends up
15-minute
derailing
evaluation.
in philosophy, debating terms or whatever, then. But okay.
Sure. I'm listening.
Yeah, you said Steven's kind of
Not caring about stuff, but is a vegan. I know.
nihilistic perspective would destroy society. I don't think it would. Nihilism, like, all it really means is that there's no objective sort of values.
No! Sorry. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. That's moral anti-realism. That's moral anti-realism. Nihilism is saying that morality doesn't exist. Moral values do not exist. Jesus Christ.
Value is just created by the mind.
It was close, I guess. No, it was not. No, it was not. Okay? No, it was not. Moral anti-realism, right, is... You can say, okay, there is not a factual matter. There is not an objective factual matter to, like, questions of morality. It might be based in personal suffering, right? It might be based in personal whims, right, and emotions. Things that would not exist if humans didn't exist, right? It would not exist if humans didn't exist. Nihilism is even with subjective human experiences of pleasure, pain, there is literally no moral description of anything, right? It doesn't exist. It's fiction. It's fiction. This is just like stories people tell each other to like cohere with how they feel and to get people act how they want. But whether society crumbles or not, it doesn't ultimately matter. Like if 20 fucking like infants get raped, it's like oh.
And if you have the perspective of nihilism, all you're recognizing is that morals, values, that's only generated by your mind. And if they're only generated by your mind, then you're not going to recognize really bad sort of religious and political philosophies. So like communism, Islam, Christianity in a lot of ways I think is harmful for society. And what things really come down to is just your ability to impose your own values on others and stick to your own values. So if you recognize
Values? What? We have values? What? We have values? Oh, so it's not like moral nihilism at all, then? Sorry.
that there's no objective truth about, okay, marriage is good, or it's good to believe in this God, or like it is objectively true that we should live in some sort of egalitarian communist sort of society, and you just don't believe in that, well, because there's no misconception of, okay, this is objectively right, there's some stance independent truth that I can point to that this is right, I have to follow it, you're in a position where you can just fight and promote your own sort of value system. And I think that sort of thinking prevents ideological takeover of a lot of minds.
It prevents ideological takeover. You're essentially saying that the ethics only works as an imposition of another. Which sounds very, very much like imperialism. Sounds very, very much like authoritarian fascism, you know? The Germans dominating the rest of Europe to make them adhere to like a strong man and his idea of what Europe should look like. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that in this view. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just, oh man.
I think this
But
is
that
why
prevents
you see,
ideological takeover. Don't forget.
So many people falling in line with communism or Nazism. And I think this is also why you see some of the social issues within the United States.
Also, this is totally okay? This is totally because ultimately, why would that have any matter? Why would that have any matter at all? You can be a communist, you can be a fascist, and not believe in objective morality. You can believe in vegan Gaines's subjective morality, and still be a fascist, and still be a communist. These things are totally disconnected.
Today, with
if I may
evangelicals
push
kind
back.
of getting too much power. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So if I may push back, so I'm taking notes. If I say something incorrectly, let me know. I'll be happy to amend my statement. Nihilism is generated in the mind. You're not going to notice the bad philosophies if
No, nihilism is not generated in the mind, retard. He said ethical values are generated in the mind. He's taking notes. He's taking notes and he got it wrong. Sorry.
you are, holding on to quote unquote objective truth. There is no objective truth. It's something that we ourselves generate. So I understand the arguments that objectivism is ultimately like the synthesis of multiple subjective perspectives. However, I still think that you and Stephen and I are all subject to the forces of gravity right now. And I think that we're all on the planet Earth right now. And I also think that we're all biological beings who...
This is mixing up. Vegan Games is only talking about moral nihilism. Why are you bringing in like epistemological nihilism? These are completely distinct. You can be a moral nihilist and think there are facts about the world.
Feel better or worse based off of our physical, sexual, and social activities. And so what I would do in order to try to approximate objective truth, what I would do is I would try to create a feedback knowledge mechanism between our knowledge and understanding of reality, and then use that in order to confirm reality over and over and over again. And so if our species ends, I think that's bad. It might be a subjective judgment, but I think most human beings would agree that that was bad.
Well, yeah, most human beings would think that's bad.
But does that make it bad?
Just because you're a nihilist, it doesn't mean that you believe that there's no such thing as truth.
Yes.
It's just that there's no moral truths. That's the only thing. Now, something can be true in your own mind.
There's a
Pushing back, it's just true. Sorry. I need to stop pausing so much.
Because it's a Jordan Peterson argument that I think is compelling. So with subjective truth, that we are all human beings, we're all on planet Earth, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, I said I would. I said I need to stop pausing so much, and then he references Jordan Peterson. Okay.
If I take a potato peeler and I start flaying all three of us with a potato peeler with no anesthetic, we are all going to agree that that's bad very quickly. And so what I'm saying
things
is
can be universally true.
right.
It
And
is
also I would
universally
say that
true
if
of
you
a
ask
mind
people
that pain
morally, is it
bad.
good to flay humans alive? Like 99.9 out of 100 human beings are going to say, yeah, that's bad. Morally,
Well,
it's bad to flay humans.
Well, unless you're talking to maybe complete psychopaths, but even if you do that to them, they think it's bad.
Right.
So it's true of a mind that pain is bad. You could say that is a stance-independent fact. I don't think we disagree there. But the thing I'm pointing out is there's a fundamental issue with, I think, all human cultures today, that there is some sort of moral truth. And because it's being pressed into our mind that it is like X is a moral truth, people don't fight for their own actual values, and they get gaslit into thinking, oh, well, gay relationships are bad. I have to get married. I have to do this. This is what other people do. And it takes away people's strength. And it takes away your ability to actually impose your own will on society.
I mean, I think the problem is, like, not enough people, like, think for themselves, you know? I just feel like not enough people, like, think for themselves and stuff. I feel like people should, like... I really think... This might just be me, okay? This might just be me. I kind of think that people should, like, think for themselves and stuff. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And your own will, I think, is important. I think when you have too much of a concentration of power, you have an issue. And when power is concentrated within certain institutions, like religious institutions or a political institution like under Nazism or communism, now with, like, billionaire oligarchs, you get huge problems. And a way to take away that sort of centralized power is to give people the knowledge that, look, these things, like these moral values, they're not objectively true. You can disagree, and you don't have to just go with the grain and get gaslit into thinking this is the right way, it's the only way, and it's just an objective truth. We have to encourage people to have their own individual strength and power and make their own judgments and decisions to prevent things like Nazism, communism. Trump has become its own cult, and there's tons of people who are trying to cope for the economic downturn with these tariffs because Trump's your daddy. I think people have to learn that it's okay. Yeah,
I have plenty to say.
I mean, it's literally just like, I think people should, like, think for themselves. I think that if people, like, thought for themselves, we wouldn't have, like, fascism and stuff, you know? Dude, I need to actually chill. I'm getting heated over, like...
I actually have no problems talking to you or keeping the three-way going, but I do want...
Is he wrong? No, but everyone agrees with him. Should people think for themselves? Yes. Boom. All of the people who he thinks aren't thinking for themselves think they're thinking for themselves. So, it's a worthless thing to say. Guys, have you ever tried, like, thinking for yourselves? Like, coming to your own conclusions about things, rather than just, like, following it just because someone says? Maybe? Perhaps? Yeah. Empty utterance. But it's not even an empty utterance. It has content. It has content, the utterance. It's just, like, everyone already agrees with it, right? Guys, did you know, like, if you were to, like, cut off your arm, like, it would hurt. It's like, yeah, it has content. It's not an empty utterance. But it's like, yeah? Yeah? It's my most hated thing that people are doing. Unless it's to build like, groundwork for a bigger point.
Steven to have an
Yeah, sure.
opportunity as well.
Okay,
'Cause I kind of
okay. This is like going exactly where I didn't want to go. Okay, I feel like this is getting way too philosophy heavy.
the
It's
vegan
not.
gains.
It's not. That's a
if you
polite
wanna
way of saying
talk
it, though.
Later, when we're done, and or if you just want to schedule a time for us to talk, I have no problems talking about
Philosophy, vegan gains. If you want to come on my stream sometime, maybe I'm streaming full time now. If you didn't realize, I'm streaming full time now. If you want to come on my stream,
nihilism,
I'm being a dick, to be fair.
philosophy, liberalism, libertarianism, individualism, collectivism. I got no problems. I would
Well,
love
why
to.
don't you two talk for a while and just bring it more to politics, and then I can, like, if I feel it's appropriate, I can add my own thoughts.
No, he's asking you to leave. Why is he still here?
Okay. Why is he still here? You're being told in polite terms, but not so subtly, to fucking leave. Why are you still here?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, cool. Okay. Are you staying in here or are you going to leave?
No, I'm saying.
Okay, fuck it. All right. Okay, that's fine. Okay, just no
Okay.
philosophy hijacking. Okay, sorry. Okay,
Yeah, sure.
you asked.
I mean, in Destiny makes it explicit. It's like, okay. Are you gonna leave? I need to chill out. Oh, streamers should not do that. That's why you get banned. I mean, yeah, this is the kind of thing that he'll probably lose his perms over. But you know, if somebody did this, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'll chat to you later then. Boom, disconnected. Dude.
You asked me a question earlier about like what should people do, I think was your question or something, right?
That's where we were going.
Okay, so I think that there's directions that humanity can go. Okay, I'll use the term, it's called moral progress, basically. Like a world is becoming better in a variety of different ways. In some ways,
Nah, not losing his perms. Destiny needs all the allies you can get. That's actually a good point. That's actually, even after doing that, even with this, or maybe like, I like to think, it's probably not true, but I like to think that that vegan gains is essentially just like kind of mogging him. Like, oh yeah? Yeah? You don't like me here? Take away my perms then. Take away my perms. That's fine. Don't want me as your orbiter? Take away my perms then, bitch. And he's just kind of like mean mugging him the entire time.
like we all agree. So like advancements in healthcare are probably good for everybody. In some ways, most of us can agree. So like advancements in certain types of technologies, like entertainment technologies, like better graphics cards, like most of us would agree. And then there are some ways that are like debatable, you know, art, culture, entertainment stuff. Some people think it's worse, some people think it's better, whatever. I would say that insofar as, well, as we exist on this planet, there are things that we can only enjoy because of certain sacrifices or certain pursuits of higher goods, I guess you would say the non-hedonistic ones that people before us, who have come before us, have made. And I would say that as much as you're able to, you know, given whatever abilities you've been granted in life, biologically or environmentally, that you should like make some contribution, or you should kind of like lend those gifts back to society as a form of paying it forward. I think there is a goodness, and I think there is some kind of social obligation or moral obligation there, such that I would say, like, if you had the capacity to be an incredibly talented mathematician or physicist or doctor, and you decided to forego that entirely in the pursuit of just like doing drugs or whatever, I would say you've committed a harm there, I think, to all of society. And then on the flip side, I would say,
I don't know. Part of me feels like Destiny's got this thing. It's like, if you're like, you know, if you're this type of person, if you're a person like, essentially like Rand's Superman, right? Like an Ayn Rand Superman. Like, you've got something incredible to like contribute to the world. You're like, you know, you're like a game changer. You're basically like that Atlas guy from that book, Atlas Shrugged, you know? If you were like that guy, if you're like captain of industry, you know, and you like didn't contribute that to society, you've done like a moral wrong. But I feel like it's probably because like Destiny's got a huge ego and he sees himself as that. But oh my god, dude, it does seem insane. I criticized. I told people that I didn't buy it. I told people that I didn't buy it when they were saying it over like a few months ago. Like, oh, doesn't he kind of like lose his ability to talk about you know, to talk about like ethics at all over this stuff? I'm like, no, that's a bit far. That's a bit far. He can still talk about ethics. That sounds insane. But this feels very, very hollow now. Talking about what? The obligations we have to like other people in society. I feel like you've violated so many ethical boundaries at this point that I wouldn't even trust you in like personal level, like ethical conversations. Never mind conversations you're having about how, kind of what one is obligated to do towards all of society. It's like, dude.
If you could be the best doctor in the world, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend.
You can rape. You can rape if you invent the light bulb. Yeah, I worked in science for about 30 years now. Worked in pharmaceuticals, basically like cured AIDS. So, I've never done it before. It's never taken my fancy. I think I'm going to start raping. It's never appealed to me before, but now I've got the ability. I think I'm going to start raping. I've cashed in enough utility to society. I think it's time to make a withdrawal. I'm going to start raping. I need to stop saying that. I've been told I need to like clean up my language on stream. Just as a treat. Just as a treat. Just like a, you know, just a little bit of me time. You know? I spent all that time at university, like helping people with AIDS. And now, you know, having a little bit of me time. Having a little bit of rape time.
Like, there is a burnout. Like,
if you've cured AIDS, you're legally allowed to give it to whoever you want at any time. True. It's only fair.
To enjoy society and giving back to society as well. So, yeah, like, I roughly stake my position out there, and then, yeah, go ahead.
No, making the balanced question then, I would say 2022, in my opinion, okay, I don't have any specific insight. However, in 2022, I would say that based off of what's publicly out there, that was probably the maximum of your pleasure-seeking behavior. So at the time...
Not true. Connor obviously does not read the Destiny Snark. Connor does obviously not read the Destiny Snark. This contributed all the way up into 2024. All the way up into 2024. But he's happy to play into that narrative. He's like, I don't do this anymore. Okay, I take Vyvanse now. I don't do this anymore, okay? Oh my god. Oh my god. No, not true.
And now, did you view your pleasure seeking as balanced with your prescriptive moral duties at that time? And then now, considering that, you know, I've heard you mention that you got on medication, some of your perceptions around sex have changed a little bit. I don't know if they've changed. Maybe your behaviors around sex have changed a little bit.
Okay.
Do you feel like they're better calibrated now, and how?
Okay, so...
Translation, okay? Translation. Do you feel like you ever committed, like, moral wrongs that are even against your own moral values while you were, like, sexually promiscuous? And you seem to have changed your behavior. Have your principles changed? Or is it just, like, your behavior's changed? That's it.
One part about this conversation that's annoying is that when people say pleasure-seeking or hedonistic, there's been a huge pushback socially, even in my community, and I noticed all the internet, in response to the red pill people who are like super unhinged about anything related to sex. Obviously, there's a huge pushback online now where people have these like kind of puritanical views, I would argue, about sex. So basically, any pursuit of recreational sex makes you a total and complete and utter hedonist. If people want to have that view, that's fine. I'm never going to be able to communicate with those people. It's whatever. In terms of like my balance of stuff, I would say that the biggest things that have changed in my mind are wanting to be more effective in terms of actualizing like a political view that I have and seeing that come out in the world. As an online streamer person, that's like fairly difficult. Nobody else was really doing it at all. So like I tried to figure out like, well, what's a way to make a positive impact? People floated the...
What are you talking about? Oh my god. He's talking about his own positive impact. Answer for your rapes. You've raped. You stopped raping, so you claim. Have you had a change of heart? Or did you know it was wrong when you were raping? That's the question. Why are you talking about playing StarCraft 2?
The canvassing idea, or somebody reached out and we started to do canvassing stuff.
He rapes, but he canvasses. He rapes, but he canvasses. E-rapes, to be clear. In a kind of comedic way, right? I mean that in like a comedic kind of way, okay? I live in the UK. Defamation is not in New York, in Omaha. And then that's kind of like what I've looked at. Progressive Victory was a company that spawned out and basically ended up hiring off a ton of my community to do stuff. And so that's, yeah, so it's kind of like trying to find a way to like, how do I like make a politically positive or piano playing sex pest? Piano playing. I think I could put. Yeah, I think I could defend that in court. Yeah.
effective change, pushing in that direction while still being a content creator or whatever. Yeah. So that's the thing that I've pushed more in the direction of. But I don't think that any of this has come at like where I've been like, oh, like I can't, do.
Did I accidentally just speed that up?
Things that are fun, or oh, like this was holding me back before. Like the doing incredibly dramatic content before was a part of my stream. Like it was really good for viewership. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. At the time, that was just what the content was or whatever. Yeah.
Well, then I guess my question is, have you changed your mind on the dramatic content or how you engage with people on an
dramatic content? Oh, I don't think we're talking about the drama streams, Connor. Pull him back to the right.
Personal level, because for instance, like I think a lot of your critics are going to point to the events of 2022. I think that some things that people in your community, and maybe you have pointed out as well, is that there hasn't been a substantive criticism of your personal behavior that dated into 24 or 25.
2025! It only just started! What are you talking about? The week of 2025. He did. Connor has to know that he did. Oh my god, dude. There's no way Connor doesn't know that he did. Surely.
So without getting specific.
I don't care, we can be specific if you want. In terms of 2022, what was, say the first part of that again?
So we can get specific if you want. If you want to keep it vague, we can. But I think that as far as what was known on stream, that was like the zenith of drama.
This was the interpersonal, like, Anna, Mr. Girl, Lav stuff.
Anna, Mr. Girl, Lav, and then also like communications with Rose, I think was summer of 2022.
Sure, but none of that was public until 2024, right?
Yes.
So in terms of Lav, Mr. Girl, Anna, the Anna stuff shouldn't have been content, I don't think. I didn't know until I hung out with this person. I didn't know that OCD could manifest in such a way, and that it ended up becoming content because this person, who is an adult and was an adult and was basically my age, decided that they wanted to make it a 24/7 stream topic for them, which, hey, listen, if you want to, it's fine. For Lav and Mr. Girl, Mr. Girl and Lav were really fucking good-ass stream content. I think it was super enjoyable having them on. It was fun stuff at the time. Yeah, I think I would probably stand by the content back then. I think it was good-ass content, yeah. We explored some serious issues.
It's not a debate. Yeah. I don't think that that's the question that I'm necessarily pointing at. So everybody enjoyed it, right? The reason why, if I remember correctly, one of the historical details was Lav found you through the Anna content, right? So
is that true?
I think so. I think there's literally the Instagram DMs where, hey, I saw your content, I thought it was good, blah 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 blah. Anna, wrong. I'm gonna blame Chud Logic. But
okay, so yeah, I did have good quips. Okay, read the DM on stream. Oh, I'm not gonna leak DMs. I'm not gonna leak DMs.
The point is that
I just sent him a DM just saying that's not true and provided him with the link.
My question, I guess, is, so you had these political things that you were trying to be effective in. The canvassing in Omaha, Nebraska.
Back then, not as much, but yeah, okay.
the canvassing in Omaha, Nebraska, the canvassing in Cincinnati, the canvassing in Milwaukee, the work with PV, the work up until the relationship, the orbits, which by the way, like orbits were obviously incredibly profitable for all involved, either socially or economically, to be a Destiny orbiter, to fight in the orbit. This was all, you know, a lot of people enjoyed themselves while they were doing it, right?
Also, just as a real quick,
He's going to ignore you like Orc did Queeman. I don't think so. Because Connor's in this sphere. And me and Connor have DM'd before. So I would expect a response at least, okay? I'd expect a response at least.
So Lav first DM'd me on Instagram in 2021 in November. So I don't know. I don't think the answer stuff was there, but just as a fact check. But okay, go ahead.
Fact check.
So
fact check. Actually,
the point being that obviously the drama cycle and the fallout from the drama cycle and the fallout from the orbiters, I would say that that was probably the reason why some more serious political work was heavily criticized, was because of people's anger as a result of the drama content and the ensuing sex content, right?
Was that,
And so
did that happen on for the political content or for like the canvassing
I
stuff?
think that mostly happened with Omaha. I don't think it happened as much with Cincinnati and Wisconsin, but I would say that what's going to happen is
wait. I think it's really important to factually have like all the stuff here because it'll inform like my decision making at the time. For the Omaha stuff, the major crash out for that.
I'm still listening. I have to let my dog out, though.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'm listening.
Yeah, the Omaha stuff came down to the Rittenhouse comments. That's what that's what happened in terms of. No, this has to be a request for Joseph. Fuck.
Sure, but
yeah,
wouldn't that be like a general criticism that you're a hyperbolic character?
Sure, but that's a significantly different thing than what we were talking about before.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll concede that it's substantively different.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on that. Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, your background with the clergy is probably really appealing to him. Okay, dude. We've got to address this now. Okay, we've got to address this now. I did not have a background with the clergy. I did not have a background with the priesthood. Okay. I was not in fucking seminary school. I was training to be a non-denominational minister. Okay, that's all. Okay. But yeah, we have chit-chatted about the Christian stuff before. Ryle brought it up to him. And as soon as he brought up that I was like had experience and like, you know, a level of competence with it, he decided he suddenly wanted to drop it. He wanted to drop the topic.
Well, so what I would say is, let's say it's PV or a different organization, and they're like, "Hey, Steven, we're still trying to figure out how to do the alternative media stuff. We want you to, do mobilizations for the midterms, or we want you to do this volunteer thing. We want you to do this. We want you to do that in order to try to have a real world effect." Then I think that your greatest critics are going to use the drama content, Mr. Girl, Lav, other characters. Then they're going to use that as a weapon in order to try to.
No, I think his enemies are going to probably going to bring up the severe lack of consent or the consent violations. No, probably, I imagine,
to derail your real world efforts.
Yeah, at this point, probably, yeah.
Destiny, your enemies are going to hurt you. Destiny, let me help you against your enemies.
That while the content was enjoyable during 2022, there were people who probably got seriously emotionally damaged as a result, and then as a result of that emotional damage, they're lashing back out at you, and then they're making we divided it into pleasure seeking versus prescriptive moral duties. In my opinion, the pleasure seeking has damaged your capacity to carry out your prescriptive moral duties.
That, while arguably that might be true, I would say that
Destiny has a prescriptive moral duty to stop Donald Trump. Okay, this is his burden placed on him by God. Okay, his God, Joe Biden, is now this man's fucking responsibility to stop the rise of MAGA republicanism.
I mean, there's no way to know how like different aspects of your life, I guess, could change or will change or whatever. So like, for instance, right now I'm not in school. There might be things I'm saying or doing now that would severely hurt my ability to go to law school or something. I don't know, something like that. The nature of my content changed pretty significantly in 2024 in a way that I don't think I would have ever foreseen. So, I mean, like, part of the reasons why my personal life is now a lot more not on stream is as a result of the change of the content, but I don't think in 2023 or before that, I don't think I would have seen my content changing as significantly. So, like, does the prior stuff potentially hamper me now? I mean, to some extent, yeah, probably. But I mean, I don't think I could have foresaw that necessarily.
Okay, then I would say this is something that I catch flack for, but I still believe it sincerely, so I'm going to state it, is that I view a lot of the pleasure-seeking behaviors as correlated with negative consequences. I think that...
oh my god, guys, so many people... I catch so much flack for my opinion that hedonistic lifestyles, chasing cheap thrills, will have negative consequences. I'm so hurt. I'm so hurt by so many people when I offer this simple critique. Fuck! Richard! Oh, dude, this Connor guy. Fuck me, man.
Promiscuity. I think that, engaging with multiple partners, having complex relationships, having relationships implode, that might be fun for you. Maybe that's the way that you want to conduct your relationships. But I often, whenever I bump into somebody who is either polyamorous, promiscuous, et cetera, they always seem to be reaping incredibly difficult personal consequences.
This isn't, he phrases it all in terms of an ethical debate, realistically. But all this discussion boils down to is like, oh, I don't think acting this way is in your best self-interests. Yeah, I don't really care. Like, I want to do it and stuff, so, And that's where the conversation ends, frankly.
Sure, that might be the case, sure.
I don't know if that's really due to...
Oh, now this retard gets in the mix.
Nature of those relationships themselves, or if the types of people who have those relationships are usually more...
Butt out, okay? Okay? Butt out. You said we weren't going to start talking until you started talking about politics. Get out. Fuck, I can't whistle. Oh my god, bro. Fuck me.
Immature. And that's what I found.
I mean,
yeah, you were supposed to leave an hour ago. You've been sitting here the entire time. Okay.
Usually the types of people...
I forgot he was there as well.
Yeah, even if this was true, even if I grant all of that, I mean, people have a right to make mistakes in life. People have a right to regret things or do things that they otherwise wouldn't want to do. Like, I think that's fine. I think it's part of being an adult. I think it's part of being human. I don't think I would necessarily avoid or forego something entirely, because people that engage with it, some people end up regretting things at the end or have a negative view at the end. I mean, like, assuming everybody's an adult, I mean, everybody can make decisions. Like, yeah.
So I guess this is begging the question then, although I might be using that phrase incorrectly. Did you make mistakes in 2022 that you're not going to make going forward?
A, what the fuck is he going to say? What, I'm going to e-rape another woman? Yes, Connor, I'm going to e-rape another woman. Or what? Or he's going to deny the principle of the fucking question and say, no, I didn't make moral mistakes. You've nested in there a premise which he disagrees with. So yeah, that is kind of begging the question, but not really. It's like, you know that somebody's going to disagree with the premise of the question, but it's not really what the debate's about.
Hopefully. Well, definitionally, a mistake is something you hope you don't make going forward, right?
A mistake? A mistake? Okay.
Yeah. So is there? Are there things that you did in the past that you're not going to repeat going forward?
Well, are you asking me if I made mistakes, or are you asking me if there's a lifestyle choice that I don't want to repeat? Because these are different things. Because if you're...
Can I ask one and then the other?
Sure.
Did you make mistakes?
Of course, yeah, I've made mistakes probably every single year of my life. I'm sure I've made mistakes.
Mistakes? Or ethical breaches? Or like wrong things? Like bad things? Like slightly evil things? Oh my god, dude.
Okay. And then are you making lifestyle choices that are different compared to 2022 compared to now?
Yeah, I am now for sure. But a lot of it, the majority of it is just because my interests have dramatically changed. Not necessarily because...
And it's not even because he's had a change of heart. Oh my, this is fucking disgusting.
Can you articulate how?
I think I have a higher penchant for...
Interesting that he doesn't have DGG chat on the screen anymore, isn't it? Interesting that he doesn't have DGG chat on the screen anymore, isn't it? Yeah. I just realized that.
That's appealing to me more, so
because I was just thinking, what's the chat saying? What's the chat saying? Hold on, let's take a look. What is the chat saying? Let's pull this out. Let's take a look. Yeah, full screen that bitch.
Are you making lifestyle choices that are different compared to 2022 compared to now?
Yeah, I am now for sure. But a lot of it, the majority of it is just because my interests have dramatically changed. Not necessarily because I thought that like living...
Everyone does.
Can you articulate how?
I think I have a higher penchant for like studying and being...
Steven does it every year too. Non-poly people suffer personally as well. Fucking read.
More politically focused now. So this is the stuff that's appealing to me most. It's the primary direction of my content versus before. My interests were like much more varied. So you'd see a much wider variety of stuff on my stream.
Oh, you can't see that. Fuck.
How much do you associate this like change in temperament and change in focus? How much do you associate it with medication?
My guess is going to be pretty
nail biting. Sweats today. Omega lol.
Significantly. But I would want to be careful because some people have like said this and then some people have like weaponized this as though...
Brother, it ain't that deep. Just say yes or no, Lamau. Oh my god. Let the cork strike this from the record.
Destiny said that when he started taking vitamins,
sleazy political doublespeak,
never have sex again, like, which is retarded and is not at all the implication that anybody should take from that. But it's more just like the style of content or the stuff that I enjoy pursuing on stream is much more focused now on politics and reading and stuff, whereas before it was a lot more varied.
Okay, then I do want to move into... I think we covered the majority of what it was. So effectively, like, I would describe you as a hedonist. I would describe you as a nihilist. I think you confirmed that to some...
Delete the VOD, delete the VOD.
I think that Vegan Gains has contentions with the way that I'm using definitionally and the moral implications that I'm associating with those words.
Dude.
I don't care about the definitions or anything. It's fine. As long as I understand what you're saying and we can have the same conversation, that's fine. I don't care. It's all good.
Well, and I'm trying to summarize to move...
Nah, he's good. He gooded still.
And then you kind of isolated prescriptive moral duties versus pleasure seeking. And
Okay,
you don't...
fuck. Okay. Less of the chat. I'm going back to Minecraft. Is that the right size? Is that the right size? Hell yeah.
See at least in my opinion, what you said is that you don't see these as necessarily in conflict. Just because you have pleasure seeking in a certain aspect of your life doesn't mean that you're not capable of carrying out your higher prescriptive moral duties.
Yeah, of course. I would say that for sure. Everybody would agree with that to some extent. You just have to figure out where to draw the line, right?
Right. So something that I bumped into, or probably the thing that's most contentious within the past couple of months, is obviously all the drama getting revealed. But then with some of your critics, what they've held on to is, I believe, you can correct me at any point, but you called for their docs, and then also said that you kind of wish some of them would die. So could you?
He's talking about it. He's talking about it. Okay, we're back to full screen. We're back to full screen.
Can you elaborate on some of that?
Yeah, so one thing that, and everybody plays stupid with this, all of the people involved play stupid with this. There's this very interesting phenomenon set up where, especially for smaller creators, what they do is they'll have these like attack dog communities that all of them constantly reference and participate in. And they, either the lead creators themselves don't do it, or their community in particular doesn't do it, but they'll know that there's a ton of interflow between them and another community that they more or less support, sometimes openly by quoting their stuff constantly and then laughing about it, or sometimes a little bit more covertly, like they'll create a ton of side discords where they'll actually pass information off to and from some of these people. For people that are involved in that, and then for those communities that are doxing and attacking people around me in like overt ways, which they
Who? Doxing and attacking. I've heard people say that your girlfriend is fat and ugly. Doxing and attacking people around you, and what they're coordinating this. I don't know. What the fuck is this conspiracy? I know the type of thing he's talking about, right? I get what he's talking about. There's just no evidence of this. There's just no evidence of this.
do, and you can see that like very openly. I have absolutely zero regard for those people. I literally have no regard for them. I think that they're the worst, most cowardly types of people. Yeah, and that's, yeah.
And so if I was to try to explain that, you know, back, I guess. So you're saying that the drama farm communities that are effectively like they've latched onto the drama of November, they've latched onto the release
Jew
of the drama
Stalker
of
Top
February,
Crybully.
continue to make it central to their content now in April.
Spicy chat mention.
You're accusing them of playing dumb when they're getting their information from websites, doxing websites, or Kiwi Farms is obviously the...
Kelly Jean apparently revealed the username of Lena's cam or OnlyFans account or something after Lena had deleted it. And that's doxing. And that's doxing. That's already known. Yeah, I'm guessing so. And that's doxing. Okay.
The biggest example. You're saying that they're playing dumb when they're playing footsie with that community while that community is harassing.
A little bit.
That community? What are you talking about? Are we talking about Spicy Chat? Or are we talking about Kiwi Farms? I've got no idea.
I'd like to be more clear here, although at the end of the day, this doesn't matter because everybody wants to weaponize this on both sides. And they should bother you if you're a critic of mine. Actually, for some of these people, it does bother them, and I've seen them say as much. People have a very hard time criticizing somebody for making a mistake or doing something bad or being bad or whatever without going way fucking overboard. So I don't like the term like centered on my drama or weaponizing my drama because like there are things that you can legitimately criticize me for. And if you want to criticize me for those things or if you want to talk about news or whatever related to those things, I think it's, for the most part, I think it's fair game, right? I'm a public figure. There's stuff that's posted publicly about me. I talk about something publicly. I think it's fair game. But when those same communities are actively and aggressively trying to dox every single person in my orbit that is trying to, or that like ostensibly appears to be like on my side, now you've crossed into a really disgusting world, I think. So like two exact examples that I can give of this that I think is insane. So there's a girl that I met.
That's actually literally what I was going to ask for.
Yeah,
was
Examples? Have you got a single example of this? One girl that you met. Okay.
Two things that I think were very interesting. So I hate giving names to these people because I know it feels them because they get off on my attention because I'm their daddy. But there was a girl called Zoe. Met her for a while. We were cool for a long time. She was a super normie person. Like didn't even have a disc. What? Oh, you can still hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The dog.
Yeah,
I
you're
have
fine.
dumb dogs, and they keep wanting in and out.
Go
Connor, shut the fuck up!
for it.
So I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, person I know, I shouldn't even use her name or whatever, but person I know seems like a pretty normal, chill person or whatever. We chat for a while, we meet up, everything's cool. This person, as a result of being close to me, right, or as a result of being my friend, there are people on another website that like dox this person and dox her, eventually her boyfriend.
Another website, so Kiwi Farms, okay.
Until these two people have to literally leave in fear because of the doxes that are posted of them, Jacob and Zoe. And the only reason explicitly why they are doxed is because the person says, these are Destiny's friends and I hate that they support him. So I'm doxing these people, right? And these people leave, and then I don't actually know what happens. I guess they spend a lot of time in the Discord server or whatever. They eventually become like my #1 fucking haters. Like at all points in time, they're talking about me constantly. Now the person that doxed them says, "Oh, I'm not doxing these people. They're chill." Now the girl herself says, "Oh yeah, like me and this guy, we're cool now. Like he's not going to dox me." Meanwhile, I remember tomfoolery tweeted out something that was critical of something Pixie was saying on Twitter. And as soon as he made that one, it was like the softest tweet in the world. He's like, oh, I don't know about this particular thing.
No, retard. I know what he's referencing there. Tomfoolery called into question whether Pixie had got consent about somebody from somebody when literally the question he is like asking is answered in the tweet he's replying to. He's just trying to like poke holes and like re-ask the question. Jesus Christ, I've got no idea about this Zoe guy. I've got no idea about this Zoe girl, but it sounds like somebody on Kiwi Farms has like doxed them a while ago. I don't fucking know.
His tweet gets posted immediately on the other website, and they're like, who is this Tom guy? Does anybody have his docs? Can we find his information? And now there's like this pattern of, if anybody hasn't explicitly separated from me, they're targeted by these other communities, and as long as they're getting any type of response or feedback, they're just going as hard as they can until they can break that person off from me. And a ton of people in, say, so like Gistigal server is a good example of this, where these people do it. A really great example of this was Kelly, who I think is permanently banned on Discord right now. And if you see her account anywhere, you can report it and it will be rebanned. Kelly was constantly bringing up stuff about my girlfriend, who's not like really a public figure at all, like trying to post basically like revenge porn of her or trying to basically dox her, although she'll say it didn't count as doxing. She was just linking separate accounts online. And the reason why Kelly was...
Right, so this is about the OnlyFans stuff. Dude, this counts as doxing. This counts as doxing. Revenge porn. You just like mentioned the username. She just mentioned the username of her OnlyFans that she doesn't use anymore. But an OnlyFans isn't like a private account. An OnlyFans isn't a private account. The only reason why you have an OnlyFans is for it to be public. And is for it to be widely known. Oh, it's exclamation point donor.
Was doing that explicitly, and she said it was she needs to publicly disavow Steven and make statements. I was like, why? It's fucking weird. So this pattern of trying to isolate a person as much as possible. Oh, so for a lot of people who don't respond to it, like Dan, for instance, eventually they leave him alone. Or like for me, like they don't do much for me because they know I don't give a fuck, right? But then they start targeting people around me. So I hate to give air or power to this or whatever, but right now the only person that seems to be engaging with that criticism, and I don't know why she does it, or maybe she'll eventually stop, is Kyla. And now you can see that all of these communities, and I'm sure you've seen it if you're in fucking Spice Chat or whatever, now they're all like hyper obsessed with Kyla.
Spicy Chat mention.
And donating to her and watching her stuff and harassing her because she's responding to it. So that pattern...
No, I mean, I'll say when the drama was, white hot and orbiters were willing to either comment or not comment, the only thing that would be acceptable to a certain amount of people was, JStock uses the term e-rapist.
E-rapist is the one I say.
Yeah,
It's funny. Okay.
Used the term sexual predator.
Based, yeah.
Some people have said sex offense registry. And if you have like a sober evaluation, like, hey, this is fucked up, Steven fucked up XYZ as far as I can tell. However, I think that you guys are being crazy.
Yeah, potentially. Also, just to be clear, that is allegedly, that is what Connor is saying, and I am not
sure.
Allegedly. That. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But the point is, from we have information that we're all evaluating. We're all making judgment calls off of what's publicly available. And so unless people are willing to condemn you in the harshest terms possible, that is insufficient for the crusade that is going after your digital head.
Or just condemn him at all, maybe, and like condemn his actions and stuff. God, me, it's so fucking pathetic, dude. It's actually so pathetic.
A little bit, yeah, but it's not. To be clear, also, it's not even really about condemnation. It's always about isolation and separating. That's the goal. The goal is
they want to punish you.
Kind of.
They want to punish you.
No, punishment implies like behavior change or something. These people just don't want me to be on the internet anymore. They want to get rid of me.
That's not true. Punishment doesn't imply behavior change. Punishment just implies reciprocity.
So the goal is always, if a person hasn't been harsh enough, and by harsh they mean totally separated, then that person will continue to be targeted over and over and over again until that person has broken it off. And people like Gistigal and Queeman have played into that. the internet anymore. They want to get rid of. They want to destroy my stuff online. They want to destroy my. As always, if a person hasn't been harsh enough, and by harsh they mean totally separated.
Get BTTV. I might have a look into that.
Then that person will continue to be targeted over and over and over again until that person has broken it off. And people like Gisticle and Queeman have played into that. So if you're going to like engage in that type of destructive behavior, then I have no concern for you. And then they'll play stupid about it, right? They'll be like, whoa, well, we've never posted this thing or whatever. But they know what's happening. We're not dipshits. Everybody knows, right?
Farmers and non-psychotic drama farmers.
Sure. Well, that's one issue is, again, like I said, there are legitimate criticisms, of course, you can make of my behavior. There are condemnations that you can make. There are, obviously, I've committed mistakes or done bad things or wrong things. Like, this is all for sure true. But there are so many communities that are poised to just weaponize it in the most extreme way possible. And then if you don't, you end up being targeted by these communities. Yeah.
So here's a common talking point that I've heard brought up.
To be fair, actually, I will say, okay, it completely obfuscates from the point. It completely obfuscates from the point, and maybe I'm playing right into his hand, okay? But I do kind of feel bad for Kyla. If, like, sure, do I think she should disavow Destiny? 100%. But do I think she deserves to get the attention of, like, Kiwi Farms in, like, possibly the most active thread? One of the most active threads in its history. I don't know. And so, in that respect, do I think that ultimately it absolves her in any way? No. Do I think she brought it on herself? Potentially. Do I think, you know, maybe does she even, like, can she even complain? No, I don't know if she can. But on a purely emotional level, do I kind of feel bad? Yeah. Kind of. I empathize with her, although maybe ethically, I don't know if she can complain. I don't know.
I'm sure that if I don't bring it up, then there's going to be people who like cry blood. Some people have said, I think I heard this from J-Stock, was specifically that you're hypocritical because of your interactions with Keffels and your interactions with Anna, where you alluded to them having information on these harassment websites. And so as a result, this is just desserts or karma coming back your way.
No. What, it's just desserts or karma? I'm sure J-Stalk said, yeah, it's just desserts or it's karma or it's payback for when you tried to take down Keffels. Destiny. No. Hell.
So how do you feel about them saying that this is either hypocritical or...
And the annoying thing is later, Connor's got enough like plausible deniability to be like, oh, sorry, like I misunderstood what you said at the time. I misunderstood. No, it doesn't fly. So retarded. This guy.
It's karmic balance.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can say these things, but these aren't real criticisms. Like, if you look at my...
What? I mean, Connor's retelling of the criticism is retarded, but these aren't real criticisms.
Engagement with Anna. So some people like to bring this up and say, like, well, Destiny's mad because people are linking to his Kiwi Farms. Destiny's mad about that, but he linked to Anna's Kiwi Farms, right? Well, if you look at the two differences...
Keffels? You want to point to Anna and not Keffels? Interesting.
Context here, it's not even remotely the same. So, like, for instance, for the Anna stuff, like, I legitimately was trying to... It goes back and forth, but I think at this point in time, I didn't want anything in my community... I didn't want anybody talking about her, because anytime she would see a statement that she would perceive about her as being incorrect, she would feel the need to start streaming and going off and off on it, and it created this horrible cycle. And I think I said, because what was happening was there was a Kiwi Farms thread that was posted, and everybody kept basically doing what Gisticle server is doing, where they would link it in my chat, like, oh my god, did you say this, did you say that? And I think I said something on stream to the effect of...
Sorry, you're referencing a time when you told people not to talk about her thread.
Listen, if you want to talk about her, go to her KF thread and talk about her. Don't do it here. I don't want to see this here. This isn't going to be talked about here. Get out.
I'm sure this is what people are talking about.
That was my statement on it. They're trying to pretend like that statement is the same.
What about Keffels? You said that you made a donation. You made a sizable donation to keep Kiwi Farms up when Keffels was trying to get them taken down because of her, like, I don't know, her doc shit.
the 50 extra discords and the room that Gisticle has, where they explicitly talk about all of my stuff on there over and over and over again, and they're linking to it and they're referencing it and talking about it constantly. It's clearly not the same thing. Like if Gisticle or any of those side servers made the same statement about me that I made about Anna, I would be totally fine with that. If they were like, listen guys, we're not going to talk about their personal shit anymore. If you want to talk about it, or like their docs or whatever, if you want to talk about it, then go to CAF and talk about it. I'd be totally fine with that. But that's clearly not what they're doing. Yeah.
Then what Max's criticism of that action is that you are a secret, manipulative genius whose true motivation
I understand all the hate towards Connor now. I understand all the hate towards Connor now. I understand all the hate. I understand all the hate.
What Max's criticism of that action is that you are a secret, manipulative genius whose true motivation is not to get that toxic element of your community out. It's to effectively harass Anna into silence. So how do you contend with that criticism?
Yeah, so there's a fun...
I mean, the thing would be, right, why did you not just say, can we not discuss Anna's docs? Maybe that's the criticism. Maybe that's the criticism. But it's like, Max thinks you're a secret, evil, manipulative... Nah, he probably just said, like, why are you directing people to talk about it in Kiwi farms? You don't want to see it, but you're fine with it. So, why not just tell people, like, not to talk about it? He linked to the Kiwi Farms thread. Really? Oh.
Game that's played, and it's very frustrating. But
dude, okay. I might be suffering from a lack of a knowledge of the context of this, okay? I might be suffering from a lack of knowledge on this area. So I'm absolutely going to keep on reading chat, okay? He linked to it in his chat. When was this? When it was all going down? Did you see that clip? I don't think I did. I just got pinged on Discord, though. I just got pinged on Discord, so maybe... Oh, no, it was an announcement. Okay. Okay. If you want to send it to me, I'd appreciate it. Where he directed people to a thread. No.
And I think I let myself get controlled by this too much, is that I'm basically unable to defend myself in any way, size, shape, or form without it being seen as some form of control or manipulation. And I think I've actually been too soft on people in the past, or I've been too conciliatory, because if I say anything, oh, he's directing his community to hate this person. Like, okay, well, if I post anywhere, it doesn't count. If I ban a message, I'm controlling. Like, basically, these people use... It's kind of like the other version of the lefty online debater argument, where they'll harass you, and then when you try to say anything back to them, they're like, oh, you're harassing a small content creator. Like the oppressor-oppressee
dynamic. Yeah, if you've got it, send it to me.
The person might be smaller than me or whatever. I'm not allowed to say anything back. I reject that framework entirely. I would say from now on, and I've said this for a while, although my personal life isn't as much in the spotlight anymore, if you want to criticize me for being like manipulative or controlling or some shit, then you need to post examples of that. It's not enough to just say, oh, because Destiny spoke about this on stream, he's abusing his power. That's bullshit. Yeah, you have to show more than that, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then this is probably the, I would say, like the last hot
I don't know why,
question,
though.
I guess.
I don't know why that. I don't know why. Sent via the beard video. Okay. D. Let's go. Okay.
Because he knows they are more easy to abuse. Another mentally ill woman that Destiny had a long conflict with was a woman named Anna. Just like with Lav, Destiny also encouraged his community to go to Anna's Kiwi Farms thread, and he encouraged them to post in her thread.
Oh, okay. Also, heads up. This is my only non-media blackout time, okay? This is my only non-media blackout time. I will immediately back this, okay? Somebody on Kiwi Farms has made a thread of Anna. So if you are obsessed with Anna and you want to talk about her all the time, you, chatter, you can actually go to Kiwi Farms and you can go and post all you want, read all you want, go there, post about it, talk about it. People put a lot of effort into categorizing and archiving everything. There you go. Okay.
And in the thread about Anna that Destiny encouraged his fans
What?
to go message, they doxed Anna. And it was later revealed.
How did he reference this before? How did he reference this before? 1 second. Let's just get the transcript up just so I can search it to go back to it. Or maybe I'll just...
And harass Anna into
talking about her because anytime she would see a statement that she would perceive
about them saying that this is either hypocritical or it's karmic balance.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can say these things, but these aren't real criticisms. Like, if you look at my engagement with Anna, so some people like to bring this up and say, like, well, Destiny's mad because people are linking to his kiwi farms. Destiny's mad about that, but he linked to Anna's kiwi farms, right? Well, if you look at the two differences in context here, it's not even remotely the same. So, like, for instance, for the Anna stuff, like, I legitimately was trying to, it goes back and forth, but I think at this point in time, I didn't want anything in my community. I didn't want anybody talking about her because anytime she would see a statement that she would perceive about her as being incorrect, she would feel the need to start streaming and going off on it, and it created this horrible cycle. And I think I said, because what was happening was there was a Kiwi Farms thread that was posted, and everybody kept basically doing what Justical servers doing, where they would link it in my chat, like, oh my god, did you say this, did you say that? And I think I said something on stream to the effect of, listen, if you want to talk about her, go to her KF thread and talk about her. Don't do it here. I don't want to see this here. This isn't going to be talked about here. Get out. Okay? That was my statement.
Okay. This isn't going to be talked about here. Get out of here. Okay.
Go to Anna's Kiwi Farms thread, and he encouraged them to post in her thread.
Oh, okay. Also, heads up. This is my only non-media blackout time, okay? This is my only non-media blackout time. I will immediately back this, okay? Somebody on Kiwi Farms has made a thread of Anna. So if you are obsessed with Anna and you want to talk about her all the time, you, chatter, you can actually go to Kiwi Farms and you can go and post all you want, read all you want. Go there, post about it, talk about it. People put a lot of effort into categorizing and archiving.
Do they?
There you go.
Wow,
okay?
I might want to go there and see all that stuff there, like commenting and categorizing. Whoa. He thinks, though, you know, the essence, if you think about the essence of what he said, like, the essence of what he said, you know, that's what he meant to say. Dude. That's actually fucking insane, dude. That's actually fucking insane. Fuck me, dude. And then, yeah, never mind the fact that he, like, completely sidestepped the Keffels thing. He said this to protect her. You don't understand. I had to tell people, chatter, yes, you chatter. You know, you can go and post and talk all you want in Anna's Kiwi Farms thread. They sure do put a lot of effort into cataloging your entire life. Dude.
On it. They're trying to pretend like that statement is the same as the 50 extra discords and the room that, you know, Justical has, where they explicitly talk about all of my stuff on there.
They talk about it.
Again, and they're linking to it, and they're referencing it and talking about it.
They're referencing it
not the same
and linking to it.
Or any of those side servers made the same statement about me.
What, in a Discord channel?
And I would be totally fine with that if they were like,
what
listen,
Discord channel? Again, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is true. He's referencing it in such a like vague way. I don't know what he's talking about. So he's not giving examples of it. So
guys, we're not going to talk about their personal shit anymore. If you want to talk about it, or like their docs or whatever, if you want to talk about it, then go to CAF and talk about it. I'd be totally fine with that. But that's clearly that's not what they're doing. Yeah.
Then what Max's criticism of that action is that you are a secret, manipulative genius whose true motivation is
this Connor guy. I fucking hate this Connor guy. Fuck me, man.
Not to get that toxic element of your community out. It's to effectively harass Anna into silence. So how do you contend with that criticism?
Yeah, so there's a fun game that's played, and it's very frustrating.
A game?
But basically, and I think I I let myself get controlled by this too much is that I'm basically unable to defend myself in any way, size, shape, or form without it being seen as some form of control or manipulation.
Oh, I can't even defend myself. I can't even defend myself. And I let myself get controlled by it too much. Okay. Oh.
And I think I've actually been too soft on people in the past, or I've been too conciliatory, because if I say anything, oh, he's directing his community to hate this person. Like, okay, well, if I post anywhere, it doesn't count. If I ban a message, I'm controlling. Like, basically, these people use, it's kind of like the other version of the lefty online debater argument, where they'll harass you, and then when you try to say anything back to them, they're like, oh, you're harassing a small content creator. Like the oppressor-oppressee dynamic, that because a person might be smaller than me or whatever, I'm not allowed to say anything back. I reject that framework entirely. I would say from now on, and I've said this for a while, although my personal life isn't as much in the spotlight anymore. If you want to criticize me for being like manipulative or controlling or some shit, then you need to post examples of that. It's not enough to just say, oh, because Destiny spoke about this on stream, he's abusing his power. That's bullshit. Yeah, you have.
Well, I mean, a stream is like a platform you have, no? A stream with like tens of thousands of people who watch it is like a power you have. Especially with like a huge community who is incredibly like, you know, insular. There are a lot of people who, like, I'd say 90% of the online content that they watch might actually just be Destiny content, right? It's a very, very like insular, loyal community. Talking about it on stream and the way you talk about it is absolutely a form of power. And you know it is, because you've criticized Hassan for less. You've criticized Vosh for less. The way in which you use your stream. Now, did you intend to? I don't know. You can debate about that. But is it a form of power? Yeah, obviously.
You have to show more than that, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then this is probably the, I would say like the last hot question, I guess. And then I want to dig into like moral perspectives on the hot question, I guess.
Go for it.
If you'll indulge me with an articulation. So doxing, in my opinion, the reason why so many creators view it as like a total violation of etiquette is because we're all creators.
Total violation of etiquette. Oh my God, is he going to bring up his argument from 2 years ago?
So as a result, like having law enforcement officers kick in our doors, having sociopaths show up to our doorways, having people send pizzas or threaten us or rape threats or death threats or whatever that is enabled by doxing is a bridge too far. If we're going to dislike each other and hate each other, then we should do it here, where we talk shit about each other, talk shit about each other's ideas, and then we just kind of like, this is the playing field, not the real world, right? That's kind of like the doxing etiquette, right?
Okay.
And then calling for death, like, saying, oh, I wish these people would fucking die, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people, including myself sometimes, will view that as a
including me sometimes, yeah. Occasionally, occasionally, rarely, a few times, I have thought this before in the past, but it's an idea that like enters my mind and then like leaves. Like for the majority of the time, this isn't what I think, but sometimes I happen to like have the thought pop into my head. Okay.
Where effectively what you're doing is, if you're getting a dox and you're saying that this person should die, you're kind of hoping that somebody will pull a John Lennon and, they'll just be like a schizo and they'll be like, yes, sir, Mr. Destiny. And then they'll actually show up to one of your critics' doorways and then actually kill them. And so the question there is...
Well, that's not the argument. I mean, Destiny has kind of said that, he hopes like someone like kills them and stuff. Yeah.
That's the general perception of doxing and death threats and talking about wanting people dead online. Why, you kind of already answered this a little bit, but why did you cross that line recently?
So this is just probably a thing that will never happen, and I understand that, and that's fine, I guess. I've come to accept it. I wish that when people would be critical of these positions, I wish they would stop to ask ever, like, I wonder why that person said this, because...
Have you never stopped to consider why I said I want these people to be killed? Have you never stopped to consider why I said that I would turn up to their house myself? That I wish I could turn up to their house myself and like strangle them to death? Have you asked why I've called for these people to be doxxed? Could be worth a thought. Could be worth a thought.
I think one of the
Connor, are you going to bring up the fantastic argument about black lines that you just can't cross? Maybe? Maybe? Are you going to bring up the fantastic argument about just lines that should never be crossed and never be talked about, you know? Like, it's just wrong to do no matter what. Surely, surely.
Cities that has been committed is happening right now in our political system, and it also happens online, is people will engage in deplorable behavior, and then when somebody basically returns it in kind, all of a sudden they cry victim. If people really truly feel this way about doxing and all that, it sure would have been interesting to see them say anything about that in regards to these communities that have been doing it to me for so long. And at this point,
what, Kiwi farms? What, you want Gistical and like Queeman to like disavow Kiwi farms? Really? Okay.
Swatted in the past year. I've been swatted twice. I've had over 100 food deliveries show up to my apartment, and I've had people that are doxing my family members, my girlfriend, and basically tons of people around me. And there are people.
Okay, the thing is, none of this is public, and the way that he's described the things before makes me think that, oh, he's just like completely dishonest. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can just accept that characterization.
People that are aware of the communities doing this, that still reference those communities, link to those communities, joke with those communities, and have other discords created with members of those communities. I have zero care in the world for you crying about anything that I say about you whatsoever. And I wish that other people had a similar perspective, because I think you're enabling that behavior. If you want to live in a world where we don't talk about dox or anything like that, that's fine. But you need to take it has to be a proactive stance against.
No. What? It's not just enough to not dox, okay? You need to be anti-dox. And it's not just like banning people in your community doing it. You cannot reference communities who dox. Interesting.
It can't be a, well, we've never posted your full address in our Discord, so it's okay. That's my position on it.
So it's the plain cute and cross-pollination between the psycho communities and the drama communities?
Yeah, but it's not just cross-pollination. Like, it is an active coordination between these communities. It is very active.
What? An active... I would love to see... I would love to see any evidence of this. I don't think I've seen any.
And, like, everybody knows it.
Okay.
Like, people are DMing between these communities and shit, so...
People are DMing between these communities.
I mean, I'll accept that.
Wait, I thought the creators were... I thought... Is this not the creators? Okay.
Then the next thing is actually a quote from Richard Nixon that I watched earlier this stream. And
go ahead, Connor.
And he was saying that a lot of people appeal to the golden rule, right? Treat others as you want to be treated. And he was talking about Russia. And he's like, well, with Russia, the golden rule doesn't work. And so the golden rule that you have to abide by is do unto Russia as they are doing unto you. And then Henry.
So an eye for an eye. So an eye for an eye. The golden rule, if you think about it, doesn't really work with Russia. So I think we should go back to an eye for an eye. Okay.
Henry Kissinger said plus 10%. And so my question is,
okay. You can tell that laugh wasn't performative or played up, because that was a really fucking ugly laugh. That was a perfect fucking pause. That was a perfect fucking pause. Plus 10. So okay, not just eye for an eye, but like escalation. Okay.
Oftentimes with Christian morality, there's always an appeal to turn the other cheek. And I'm not saying that you should do this. I'm asking for your moral perspective. Are you an eye for an eye
kind of
Old
guy?
Testament, do unto others as they are doing to you, instead of do unto others what you wish they would do to you?
I mean, I'll treat anybody with respect initially. Like all of my initial, like I'm always going to give somebody the benefit of the doubt initially, but I'm not going to go out of my way to do favors for you or to be protective of you if you're going out of your way.
Do favors? Be protective? No, no, no. I don't think anyone's asking for that. You hate these people, right? You hate these people, and they hate you. Be protective? No. Just maybe like don't call for their docs. Maybe don't call for their docs. I'm not asking you to actively do something to like protect them or help them. It's just like don't try and like dox them.
Way to be like destructive or violent towards me, and I don't think anybody should have that expectation.
Okay, so do you think that the classic saying is treat others as you would like to be treated? You'll use that, if I'm hearing you correctly, you'll use that as an initial like etiquette, but then once it goes hard, it kind of goes to do unto others as they are doing to you.
Yeah, or I'll just assume they're living by that etiquette of do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. And if they're engaging in basically doxing and harassing behavior, I guess I don't care about it then.
If you want to link to Gisticle's OnlyFans, okay, that's fine by me. That's fine by me. So long as it only has as much information as is publicly available, that's fine by me. If you want to link to Queeman's public OnlyFans, again, so long as it has no more information than is publicly available, that's fine by me. That's okay. Like, linking to Boblax's OnlyFans was not doxing. It wasn't doxing. Like, nobody considers that. Okay.
And then this is a question that I think logically extends, which is
Merch has opinion disgusting. I can't believe you moderate for me.
How do you think that this extends out into our current politics, where we're obviously in the Trump era of like mutually assured destruction, where our counterparties
we are not talking about Trump again, please.
About the brinksmanship or violence or death in politics that they're causing, and so as a result, it doesn't seem like turning the other cheek works. And it doesn't really seem that like being reciprocal in violence or political violence works either. So
I know I've got a community, okay, of gays and women, but don't sexualize people randomly, please. Please don't randomly sexualize people. Thank you for this public service announcement.
Now, I think that when people are
because we've been turning the cheek for too long.
Not kind of, but like nobody has viewed it as turning the cheek. People have engaged in a whole bunch of weird behavior to either pretend that the other side had done it first, or that that one side wasn't doing a particular thing. Like, I think there's a pretty strong deterrent effect when people see behavior as like unacceptable. But when people start to normalize that behavior or see it as acceptable, then people have, you know, a certain view on it, or they'll cry victim when it happens to them. But yeah, I think that reciprocity is a really important tit for tat type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. I have one more point question, and then I have personal questions that might be too personal for you to answer, and I'm okay with you saying like, hey, this is too personal. So the first thing is, let's say we're a year out, the court case is either settled or it's done in whatever way, and you are effectively free from whatever shackles that were put on you socially and politically in order to pursue your own ambitions, both IRL and online. What is the next project once everything is settled?
I'm not really sure right now. Like in the prior thing, the thing that I was looking at the most was like a media company, but I spent a good deal of time like evaluating other talent and stuff.
Oh my fucking god, it's just such a fucking freak. Oh my god. Okay. Let's go.
Looking at the most was like a media company, but
oh yeah, shit, this is what I was gonna say. Yeah, in fact, I think he invested like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into this. He was gonna like, you know, go to New York. I think that's kind of where things were planning to be based. Yeah, I was kind of toying with the idea. And then that totally got like and stuff. So yeah,
time like evaluating other talent and stuff, and it's just really hard to find people that do, I guess, like stuff that I would like to wholeheartedly support. And then my own stuff, even just political takes, can be really spicy. So it can cause a lot of collateral damage. I don't know if I want like a whole organization that might be riding on that. I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm kind of. I guess I'm
What
just
about
waiting
the
for once.
IRL political activism?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably still continue to do stuff like that, like door knocking and stuff. Although I feel like there's probably a bigger effect we could be having. But
The reason why I'm asking, this is true regardless of whether or not drama critics believe it to be true or not, is that PV I think statistically they said that they contacted 1.6 million people over the course of
I believe it to be true, Carter. I believe it to be true. I don't care. I don't care. Oh.
2 years through the canvassing houses and the canvassing operations. And in my experience, bear in mind, I didn't see their internal metrics, but I would say that between like 60 and 80% of the canvassing operations were DGG. And so as a result, DGG
I did see that, by the way. I am reading chat. I'm just not referencing you because I want to see what evil things you'll do, and so I can hide you permanently.
Was like the engine of those 1.6 million voter contacts.
yeah, for sure.
And so my annoyance, I guess, part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation was because if we waste that community effort, that energy, in order to try to have a real world impact, I'll view that as a, I don't know, we were talking about like prescriptive moral duties or something. I would view that as like a destruction of the prescriptive moral duty. So you kind of already answered my question, but I just want to share my perspective on that.
Yeah, I think that would probably be bad. Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. I think there's a lot of like, potential there to
vegan
do
gains,
something.
I'm actually almost, sorry, what's that?
I think there's a lot of potential to do like politically active stuff. It's one of my biggest complaints about all left-leaning.
Yeah, there's a potential. Yeah, but did you do any? Did you do any? Who knows? It's kind of ephemeral.
Creators online is that they don't seem to do anything.
Why the fuck is vegan gains still there?
Like, possible, yeah.
Okay. Then these questions might be too personal, but they're also the last things that I had written down. So you can either just say, hey, I don't want to talk about that, or you can answer it depending on your view.
Okay, best.
So how do you view, people gave me shit because I described some of your known upbringings. How do you view your childhood?
Okay.
That's a super broad question. There are some things that I had struggles with. There are some things that were like super beneficial. It just depends. I would say on the net, I think I was probably like way better off than definitely most people in the world. Probably better off, I think, than most people in the country. Hopefully, maybe, or at least in the upper 50%.
So I made a psychological argument and a historical argument, and you can disagree with me.
Okay.
There was a,
lest we forget, he was probably raped as a kid. Lest we forget.
piece of content that was called "My Early Life Was Bizarre" or something like that.
It's still up on his channel.
It's probably like a decade old. It might be like 8 years old now. But one of the things that you talked about was effectively the fact that your parents.
Wait. Can I find that actually? Can I find that? Hold on. Dude, the thumbnail is hilarious to this. Yeah, the thumbnail is hilarious. What the fuck is this thumbnail? It's a crying face from The Binding of Isaac. It's a sad Pepe, and it's Destiny looking like he's about to like break down with his like. My early life was really bizarre. Okay. I'm glad it's like 7 years old and it's still up. Why? YouTube poop. Destiny's early life was really bizarre. Hold on. What's this?
My early life was really bizarre. Like, my dad fucked a fuck ton of dogs. Like, the problem my parents always had was that they always went dumpster diving to try to find a Nintendo 64, whatever. At the same time, my dad did, like, the business, is what he called it. The business. Does anybody in here know what the business is when you showed the plan to people? Yep. A Galaxy's got it. Fucking 15 to 20 dogs.
Okay. Okay. Next one.
Were
Back
so
to the normal
busy
video.
with their side hustles and their shenanigans that oftentimes you were alone, and so you had to be emotionally reliant on yourself and resilient.
Sure, yeah, probably
And
a lot of resiliency growing up, yeah. The main reason why I don't like to do the psychoanalysis stuff is because there's a lot of people that have, I would say the norm is nobody really cares to try to understand anything. People are usually just digging through my past because they want to explain or pathologize some behavior. So in my mind, most of those conversations are incredibly boring because it's just people looking to affirm whatever like biases they have of me. I think this is an incredibly common behavior.
Okay, well,
yeah.
then I'll cut to the chase, okay?
Mhm.
So my
I
argument
wish you
be
would more often. Okay.
that your childhood experiences, and in particular getting emotionally attached to some of the animals that your grandma took care of.
Oh, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this? Oh. His grandmother killed dogs, okay? If you don't know what he's referencing, his grandmother killed dogs.
And then them
Or
being
had them euthanized after, like, keeping them for 6 months. Very weird lady.
euthanized without a good reason would be partially responsible for your emotional callousness.
It's possible, sure, yeah.
Okay.
I can't say it's impossible.
Destiny, please. Destiny, please. I've hidden so much of my argument on this. Please. Destiny, please. Please. Sympathy bait. Please, sympathy bait over your grandma who killed all those dogs.
Sure that everything impacted me growing up, yeah.
Okay. Then I mean, if you're just saying possible, I'm putting it at plausible, but I'm not going to argue with you about your own life experience.
Well, I mean, approaching the past with some humility. I mean, like, it could be that some things had a dramatic impact on me and I don't even realize it. It could be that some things that I thought were super impactful were nowhere near as impactful. That I don't know. I can't really say. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure on the aggregate, there's probably a more impactful thing than not. Sure.
Okay. And then you have a teenage boy, right?
Yep.
So
he's got a son, guys. Can he really be that bad? He's got a son, guys. What is this argument?
Your kids, obviously kids, they look up to their parents, they look up to role models in society. You also have tens of thousands of young men who listen to you on a day-to-day basis as a streamer. So what parts of you
is he giving the Andrew
do
Tate
you wish that
defense
they
right
would
now?
emulate? Oh. And what parts of you do they wish they wouldn't have?
Dude.
For people in general or for my own son?
I would love to hear answers to both. What do you do that you want, if Nathan does it when he's an adult, you would be proud of him for doing?
Sure.
And then what things do you do that you would be like, I wish he would avoid that?
I mean, I guess, I feel like I'm a very independent person, which I think is generally good. So ideally the problem is, like, every trait can be good and every trait can be bad. So I'm very independent. The positive side of that is that I can be extremely unique and thoughtful when it comes to approaching certain political issues or certain life-related issues. Just a lot, like, that unique, thoughtful aspect is good. The flip side of that is that I could also be stubborn, or take too long to learn a particular thing might be bad. Rather than learning from somebody else's experiences or something else, it ends up taking me some personal experience with something. And, like, everybody to some extent is like this. But yeah, so I guess, like, you could say, like, my intellectual curiosity is a good thing. My stubbornness maybe is a bad thing. Although stubbornness can also be, like, it just depends. Too much is probably not good. Obviously, too much is not good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. When I do content online, the behavior that I'm trying to get people to emulate the most is being able to read and do research, and to be able to have like a good logical processing engine for stuff that they're evaluating. That's the main stuff I want people to take away from me online. So if you read something, how can you critically analyze it? And then when you're going to do research on a thing, like, what's a good way to do research? Like, what epistemic foundation can we start from? How do we decide what's good information and what's bad information? And then, what heuristics can we apply for stuff we don't know as much about? That's generally what I try to get people to emulate from me online. Yeah.
Okay. Then actually, I came up with one more funny thing that I want to talk about. But if I heard you correct, and I'm summarizing your statement back to you, you want people, and Nathan presumably, to be independent, to be curious, to be insightful, to be capable of doing research, to have logic and persistence. However, you think that two of your flaws potentially are being stubborn and learning lessons the hard way.
Sure, that could be it, yeah. Oh, another thing I would say, and I've absolutely and utterly failed in communicating this to my fan base. Hopefully Nathan does a better job, but who knows? I really value...
what can I say? What can I say? It's like, yeah, I guess I agree with that. Sure. Like, yeah. I I just agree those are good things to emulate. It's just the fact that Connor brings this up is like so fucking pathetic. It genuinely is. It's like the worst, like, oh my, like this guy like has his own ego, surely. Like, I mean, yeah. He just, oh, dude. Imagine being this invested. Well, to be fair, I know why he's so invested in this career. Because he's trying to start streaming, and it's basically his only big connect. And everyone else that he's got like connections with kind of hates him. And Destiny right now is really, really desperate for orbiters. And he said that he won't talk to like people who want to like be in a sphere for like the orbit, but he will talk to Connor because Connor's very nice to him, and Connor has you know, I guess like utility to him, right? In terms of like being connected and doing like PV stuff and you know stuff like that. So he will talk to Connor. But he won't talk to any other orbiters. And so Connor basically has, you know, basically a singular tap to this huge, huge audience, right? So, yeah.
I really value variety in people. So I think a person who's capable of enjoying, you know, like sports and video games, or science and art, or philosophy and computer programming, like having a variety of traits and appreciating a variety of different types of people, I think is one of the coolest traits of a person. I've utterly failed in communicating that interest to my to my fan base, but that would be a thing that I would hope my son would take up. Yeah, because you can learn a lot of different interesting things from a lot of different types of people, and most people are only capable of like existing in their own community or doing their own hobbies, and they don't see any value in stuff that's too far outside the perimeters of that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then that wraps up my things, but I want to do one more mental exercise. And it's something that I bumped into recently that talks about false idols.
Does the mental exercise also include like basing your own like intelligence and or, you know, destiny? Maybe, potentially.
Jordan Peterson
I hope it doesn't.
and
No!
Dr. Arthur
Jordan
Brooks
Peterson
thing.
again!
One more mental exercise, and it's something that I bumped into recently that talks about false idols. It's a Jordan Peterson and Dr. Arthur Brooks thing. And basically, there's four things. Money, pleasure, power, and fame. Okay?
Hello!
The goal is to figure out which thing
Literally, there was one person who said, your camera's off. And then everyone else is just spanning green squares. I'm like, yes, I know. Connor is only like associating with Destiny for the green. Connor is only associating with Destiny for the green. But yeah, I agree with you. Why are people spamming it so much?
value the most. And so as a result, the intellectual exercise is effectively to eliminate them in sequence of which one you are okay with having the mean of the population. So basically, like, if let's say you pick money as a thing that you could do without, you won't be rich, but you won't be poor. All of your bills will be paid and your life will be okay, but you're going to have the same as everybody else. And so between money, pleasure, power, and fame.
To be fair, I should start actually like paying attention to my camera a little bit more. Yeah, like the amount of like stream screenshots I see that it's just like me pulling a stupid fucking face. Okay. But yeah, I probably should actually pay attention to what I look like when I'm on stream. Yeah.
Which one are you eliminating first?
Is this for me personally, or what I would hope an average person would say?
You.
The first one would probably easily be money, I think.
Okay, so you are, compared to the other things, you would rather have money or you would rather have the average amount of money compared to everybody else, compared to those other three things.
For sure.
So we got pleasure, power, and fame. What's the next one that you would eliminate?
Probably fame.
Okay. So now we're down to power, so capacity, and then fame, like notoriety.
Fame would be
so
eliminated,
which one are
right?
you eliminating next? What's that?
I eliminated fame. I would eliminate money, then fame, then pleasure, and then power would probably be the last one, I guess.
Oh, so he values power the most. Interesting. But don't forget, he said earlier that, you know, he's like not using his power to do anything through his streams. Like, you need more than his streams to say that he's trying to use his like power to like manipulate people. Don't forget, okay? He needs more than his streams to like exercise power. You don't just bring up his streams. You need to bring up something real. But what does he spend like 12 hours a day doing? Every day. Dude.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's literally the exercise. So
what is
yeah,
meant by power?
Shut the vegan cage! Shut the fuck up! Vegan cage! Shut the fuck up! Why are you here? What do you mean by power? What do you mean by power? Shut the fuck up! I fucking hate this guy so much, dude.
So power just means capacity. So like political capacity, social capacity, the ability to bring your vision of what you want the world to be into manifestation.
Yeah, so then that's a stupid question.
Okay, vegan gains. You're looping me back in. Argue with Connor more. Okay.
Power gives you everything. It gives you pleasure.
No. The response should be that all of these things are intrinsically tied with power. Money gives you power. It gives you influence to be able to do things, right? That's what money essentially does. You pay people and then like do things for you. It's like cool, you know? And fame gives you influence, and you can like tell people to do things, and because you're famous, you can like, you know, you can say that to a lot of people, and some of them might do it, and that's the response. Sorry, go on.
Sure, it gives you freedom, it gives you money, it gives
That's
you
why that's true.
fame.
Like, the point of the exercise wouldn't be that you would just
Okay,
use the
I misspoke, okay? I spoke too early. Yep.
power to maximize the other three things. I think it's just asking what you value.
Yeah, it's a question. Just to explain the thought exercise. It's called the false
thought
idol.
exercise. It's just a question.
That's what Arthur Brooks and Jordan Peterson were talking about. And oftentimes they say that the easiest way to identify your false idol, the thing that you are willing to compromise all other values for, is to see what are the things that you will compromise every other value for. That's like the easiest way to identify it. And then the next thing is, what is it? Through these four things, which one do you value the most? What's that?
The correct answer is power.
Is the thing that should be most valued?
Yeah. Like, that's just a stupid question.
But
it
it's
is a
not.
stupid question.
And the reason why is because there's different kinds of human beings. Well, and by the way, I don't care if we open it up. So if vegan gains, I don't know, Steven, if you still want to hang out. What's that?
Yeah, you can open up a little, sure.
Okay. So
Like, it actually sounds like a woman like would ask that kind of stupid question. It's like a multiple choice question a woman would.
Okay, vegan gains is winning. Vegan gains is winning so hard. Oh my god. Okay, I'm back in.
Come up with like women tend
that's
to.
sexist. So hold on, vegan gains. Let me explain it and let me fight with you a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
so the
sure.
point is, there are people who value money more than power, because with power comes a correlated amount of responsibility.
Done.
And then there are people who
No.
value pleasure. Yes, there are people who value
No, not
pleasure more
necessarily.
than anything else. We're moving from one segment into the next segment, and 100% there's people who value pleasure more than anything else, because they don't care if they have money, they don't care if they have power, they don't care if they have fame, they just want to be on a beach somewhere drinking alcohol and having sex. So there are 100% people who prioritize these things differently.
The only way to get those things is with a requisite amount of power.
But you can
that's
have
the
a
whole point
modicum of power and achieve these
the
other
whole
things.
The whole point of the question is if you could have it without having to have power, right? Is the way the question is phrased.
Well, it's also you also have a moderate amount compared to everybody else. So it's not no money, it's not no power. It's like, do you want to be president of the United States, or do you want to be a teacher in your local community? Both of those positions have power, but one of them has insanely more power than the other. And you can still achieve money, pleasure, and fame while being a average powerful person.
Well,
Not no power,
again, if we're
average.
if we're defining power as the ability to effectuate whatever outcome you want, then power would be the correct option. Because if you value anything other than power, then having power would get you whatever the hell.
You're not doing it right. Read the text that show up, retard.
And also, if power would get you whatever you would want, then technically power would be an irrational answer. You would just pick that thing that you want, right? So for instance, let's say that you were like, well, I would just choose power because that could get me tons of money. Well, then why not just pick money?
Also, bro, we're kind of on the playground right now, and you're like, well, I choose a superpower to have all superpowers. That's what you're doing. It's like, I'm saying, like...
What? I fucking hate this Connor guy.
Invisibility, flight, healing, or the power to have all powers. And you're like, the power to have all powers. But that's not really what I'm saying.
Well, again, you defined power as the ability to effectuate whatever desired outcome you want.
Sure.
So if that's...
And there's Genghis Khan.
That would be...
And there's school teacher. Not everybody wants to be Genghis Khan.
Yes, but again, if power gets you what you want, then the fundamental desire you should have is power.
Okay. There's plenty of people who disagree with you, and they're okay with a modicum of power.
And they're wrong.
Okay.
I think that's just a stupid question. Jordan Peterson's like, he cries when he watches Pinocchio. I mean,
you don't?
He's not somebody I take seriously. That just sounds like a stupid question.
Okay. Well, you can go call Arthur Brooks stupid to his face.
Yeah, that's just a dumb question.
Okay, well, he's a doctor and a CEO, and he's a doctor.
Are you saying that this doctor and CEO said a stupid thing? You want to think again, buddy? Dude.
Doctor in psychology. So you can go, and I'm not talking about Jordan Peterson, I'm talking about
psychology.
Arthur Brooks. You can go find Arthur Brooks and call him a moron.
Psychology is the thing you do if you are an idiot.
If you're very smart like me, you go online to debate philosophy with no philosophical education and like lift weights and stuff. What the fuck are you doing?
Dude. Is the dumbest field of study. It is, especially now. It is the dumbest field of study.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say this to you because it is the way that I feel. I think presuming that people who are like masters in their field are stupid without having consumed their content individually probably...
No, he's just saying the question is stupid. Why is Connor being such an F-slur about this? Jesus Christ.
Pretty arrogant thing to say.
If you'd come up with a question like that, that's idiotic.
Why is it idiotic to have people evaluate what they value most in their lives?
Well, again, these things are interrelated for one thing. I think that's the fundamental issue. Money gets you power.
The question is, what do
power
you value
money.
most?
Sorry? Oh, what you value most.
The question is, what do you value most?
Right, but the issue is, if power is at the top of the totem pole that can effectuate any other desire, then power is the right answer. I don't know if that was his intention.
No, it's not.
Designing the question, but there's a clear right.
Who cares about having power? Who cares? No. Who cares about having power for like its own sake? Who cares about having power in its own sake? I don't understand.
Example. Let me give you an example rather than you just calling these people stupid. Okay. There are things that people will compromise for money, as an example. So we all know Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson is a dipshit shill who doesn't have an ounce of integrity in his entire fucking body.
Oh, come on, guys. Come on, guys. I'm not like the other Republicans. Ooh, I'm not like the other Republicans. Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as a result, he effectively is a MAGA propagandist every single day that he goes online, and he says the dumbest shit ever. Okay.
God, I hate those MAGA Republicans, guys. Don't you hate those MAGA Republicans? I'm not like them. I'm not like them. They're not like us.
And so there is something that is motivating that behavior, and it's not power.
I didn't watch it. I just know he's mad at Queeman over the yeet stuff for some reason. No, he's mad at Queeman, and so he just like brings up the yeet stuff and then just talks about Queeman a little bit. But it's nothing new. It's stuff he said 10 times over.
Benny Johnson is not a powerful person. He doesn't hold public office. He doesn't have particular amount of firearms. He doesn't, wield an army. He is not motivated by power. He's motivated by something else. And so
oh yeah, also Connor unironically believes that it's absolutely essential for people to own firearms so that they can be a check on the government. That is an unironic belief that he holds. Yeah.
He's motivated likely by either money or fame. And so if you sat down Benny Johnson and you asked him, okay, we know it's not power because you're not a powerful person. What motivates you about this job? Is it because you want to be famous, because you want to be a household name, or is it because you want money? He can answer yes, but the truth is that there is one motivation that is going to outweigh the other.
No,
and you understand
I don't even know.
Have I seen him debate Pisco and Lonabox? On what?
I don't even know how you can make that assessment. So Benny Johnson, he's not particularly smart. Well, he's not smart at all, really. He is not particularly likable. He's not able to really climb any kind of.
Okay, wait, hold on, wait, because I have other things I'm doing tonight. I don't want to waste all the time on. Okay, the point of the thought experiment is when it's asking you what you want, it's trying to serve as a proxy for the things that you value the most in life. So somebody who wants money, I haven't read this list or whatever, but I'm guessing somebody who wants money probably has an attachment to some sort of consumerist or consumption-based behavior or vanity. They want cars, they want big houses, they want something like that. Somebody who wants fame is probably somebody who's like desiring attention from people. Somebody who wants people to know about who they are or to feel important in that way. Somebody who wants pleasure is probably somebody who just wants to be able to pursue things that are just fun or happy or things that make them feel good in life. And somebody that wants power is somebody that feels like they have some sort of ability to force other people to consider or to take on the things that they believe are true or real. They want to exercise that power in some way. Yes, you can defeat the hypothetical by saying, well, if I choose money, then I could just use money to get all the power. Well, then you're just after power and you've defeated the entire purpose of the hypothetical. Or if you say, well, fame is good because if I use fame, I can be famous and get a lot of money. Well, in that case, then you just choose money.
Problem.
That's not a problem, though. It's a hypothetical. It's just testing to see what the price. No, because the problem's not asking you. We're about to send you into the future and you need to pick the optimal lifestyle choice to get what you want. It's just trying to serve as a proxy for what are the things that you enjoy in life.
That's
what are the things that are driving your behavior.
There also needs to be one more point while we're trying to get through to you is...
Didn't seem like... Okay. Guns. He said he'd rather live in a Trump dictatorship with guns than have mild gun control, because with guns you can resist Trump. Okay, I do remember that. I am reading chat.
It's not no money, no pleasure, no power, no fame. It's the average. So pleasure would be like, you can have
this
sex,
isn't relevant. Sure, that's not relevant though. He's gonna. That's not relevant.
You're gonna have
his
the
issue
average amount of the population.
Yeah.
Well, look, that is an issue because if you're trying to determine what somebody values more, and they're not really sure, but they associate money with power, or they associate power with fame, or power with money, or fame with money, or fame with power.
Okay. Vegan Gains is like losing me again, and I think it's just because he's like talking and stuff.
Then because these things are so closely interrelated with one another, that is a huge problem.
So
for
that
somebody
is an
who's
issue.
Not
but
sure what they value.
So that can be an issue, but that is baked into the hypothetical, and it's my guess is that's why he asks you to eliminate one thing at a time. So if the first thing you eliminate, so for me, the first thing was money. I don't give a fuck. There are like the fact that I would eliminate that first means that if my top thing ended up being fame or power, then those two things are probably a lot more closely connected than me using my fame or power to get more money, right? Or if the first thing you eliminate is pleasure, then it says something about the type of
not his false god.
Sure,
it's not the thing that he worships most in this life.
Yeah, but if your top two things end up being something
Don't make it Petersonian.
End up being, we'll
it's
say
not
money
his
and fame
god.
are your top two things, then that's probably going to be a
This
different type
guy.
of person than the top two things being like fame and power
hate
or
this
power
kind
and
of guy.
pleasure, right?
Yeah, like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is wild, and dude, you're acting like we're being obtuse, but we're not being obtuse. We're explaining it exactly, and then we're also bringing up real...
No, Connor, you just got raped, okay? You just got raped, and Destiny's come in and, like, well, you know, Destiny first, he's, like, helped you not get raped. He's helped you not get raped. And now you're raping yourself again by being so smug and trying to ride Destiny's coattails. You clearly didn't understand the purpose of the question. Like, he's so smart. He's so smart. He's a doctor. He's not stupid. He's so smart.
World examples. Brad Pitt doesn't care about being powerful. He doesn't care about power. He cares about money and fame.
Why?
If he cared about power, he would live a totally different life.
Yeah, but I don't know how you can necessarily assume that, because fame
Because he's not a
and money
politician. He
give
doesn't
you
command
power.
armies.
Fame
He's
and
not
money,
in
fame
charge
and
of
money,
law
Yes,
enforcement.
but
fame and money
you may
doesn't
not-
He's not a
necessarily
lawyer.
wait,
Yes,
and fame and money doesn't necessarily give you power, right?
Yes, but he may not be interested in controlling an army. He may be interested.
If you really think about it, Gamma is our counterpoints. I disagree, okay? I disagree. Here's the thing. Gamma, I think... Yeah, I'd probably say Gamma uses too many words, okay? Gamma uses too many words to get out his thoughts. But, unlike Counterpoints, it's not because he's trying to, like, I don't know, make things sound a certain way. It's not something he does to, like, add an aesthetic of, like, philosophication to it. He's trying to, like, phrase it in the best way he knows to, right? That's the difference. That's the difference. Whereas that is absolutely what Connor does, which is different.
In fucking as many hot girls as you want.
So that would be pleasure,
That is a type
right?
of power.
No, it might
Well,
be a
that's
type
also
of
a type
power.
of
If you
power.
want to say that's a type of
And
power,
he
then
may
then
not-
you're being reductionist. Then you're being reductionist, right?
I'm not being reductionist.
That is reductionist, because now in that case, everything is power, right? Can you name me a single example of a thing in life that's not about power?
Again, that is the issue. These
Okay, but if
things are
that's-
so
No, it's not.
interrelated, and if power gets you all of these things, this question is just silly.
Okay, then what word would
No,
you use
it's
instead?
not. You're being obtuse.
If there was a different
I'm
word
not
you
being
could use
obtuse.
instead of power, then what would you use instead?
I'm trying to think. It's a stupid question because Vegan Gains is like stupid and has like tied himself up in a stupid knot. But what would I say? Influence? Ability to determine others' will? The ability to manipulate people? What would I say that's like the process of influencing people, but not purely the fact that you have influenced them? Being able to dominate other people socially, I guess. that sounds really, really weird, but weirdly enough, I think that's the best way I can think to actually describe that concept.
I would not ask that.
Dominate, okay, it does have like a sexual connotation, okay? It does have a sexual connotation. I don't mean it like that, obviously.
Like, I don't know what the
Otherwise, I mean, that would fall under pleasure.
point of the question is, but I would maybe use a much more specific line of questioning that's contextual. So rather than just talking about power or money or fame, just definitionally, I would maybe create a context of you live in this house, you have this job, you have this amount of notoriety. Which would you take away first? I would ask it. I would ask it in a more contextual way. Like, you're the president of the United States. You live in a big mansion, and
What do we talk? Vegan Gains. What? Okay, this maybe is a better formulation of this question. Okay.
Yeah, then you already know
have
it's
the
power.
smoking. Yeah, so those do those things talk about power, money, and pleasure, but it's contextual in a way where you're not like, again, if
Okay,
we're just
let me
going
try.
to
Let me try.
apply-
Hold on, wait. Let me try this. Okay, you have an animal farm of 100 horses. Okay, with this animal farm, you could either open it up so that you and some friends can have the best orgies with these horses ever, and you've made them into the perfect pleasured sex bots.
Wait, is this a Vosh hypothetical wrapped outside a wrapped inside a Mr. Girl hypothetical?
Or
You have you want to fuck all your horses, and the horses are also robots. Interesting.
you could butcher all the horses and sell their meat, okay, for a ton of money. Or
Wrapped inside a Vegan Gains hypothetical.
you could train them to be the best show horses ever, and people will view you as the best horse trainer in the world. Or you could film little documentaries about each of them to make everybody in the world vegan. Which one would you rather?
Wrapped inside a villainous channel hypothetical. I don't know.
Or do.
Well, the vegan option.
Okay, so the vegan option there would be the equivalent of power. You're utilizing or leveraging some resources to effectuate some kind of change in the world. So you're trying to exercise some power there. And that's more important to you than the pleasure of fucking the animals. It's more important to you than the fame that you'd get from training them and being seen as the best horse trainer ever.
That makes more sense.
Okay.
That question makes more sense.
Okay.
Because
and my guess
if
is
you're
the
just
second
going
highest
to
thing you'd probably do would probably be something related to like the training, right? Yeah.
Again, if you don't contextualize these things and you just define power as the ability to effectuate whatever outcome you want, then the other questions are completely and utterly
Vegan,
irrelevant.
I'll extend you an olive branch, but obviously in the context of this conversation, I was talking to Stephen about Stephen, right? Ask him these things in sequence. What are you eliminating first? Stephen has money. Stephen has access to pleasure. Stephen has a modicum of power, and Stephen has a modicum of fame. So he has to eliminate those things one by one in order to see which one is most important to his life and the way that he prioritizes and affects those way in the world. Also, this exercise isn't just to identify like your vice, right? Like it isn't just to identify the worst part of your personality. It's also for people to realize what they truly value. And so, for instance, like with Brad Pitt, you said that it could be all three. He could want pleasure, money, and fame and power all at the same time, but that's not the question. The question is, what does he value most between the four? And if you ask Brad Pitt this in a series of questions, he would be able to eliminate each value sequentially until you arrive at the final answer.
I understand that, but when you ask these questions generally, the power answer makes all the other questions completely irrelevant if it's generalized.
I don't think so.
If it's more specific and contextual, that's a different story. And I think there's also
then that's my fault for not making it specific and contextual.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's not your fault. That's Jordan Peterson and whatever his name's fault.
Okay.
There's also a cultural issue. If like money is like culturally tied to power, that can also cause a huge issue.
Sure, I'm sure that like
how
for
could
instance, like with
money not
Japanese people or
culturally
whatever
be
who
tied
view
to
like
power?
work as status, I'm sure that there would be a problem where they would have
Oh
difficulty.
fuck! I asked that question and now
separating
Vegan Kent
money.
is fucking mugging me. Now he's fucking. This is awful. I can't compete. I can't. Fuck.
From power or esteem, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
so I'm sure that there would be like some cultural communication issues. However, I think that if you do individualize it, and like you said, make it context dependent, like so for instance, with you, my presumption is that you would be pursuing probably, I would say, like fame in the pursuit of power. I would say power, but you're trying to achieve power through fame. Money and pleasure are secondary. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
Because
my main
veganism
interest
isn't
is
gonna.
power.
If you became a congressman, you would not create. Correct me if I'm wrong. Veganism is a large part of your channel. You wouldn't be able to achieve power in order to change veganism through the halls of Congress because you would just be one Congress member, right? So the traditional path to power is not the way that you should go. The way that you should go is through advocacy and public advocacy. And so as a result of public advocacy, you achieve secondarily fame and money. And then pleasure is just a part of your life. You might, bang some chicks, you might have some fun, you might do some drugs every now and then, but that's not the reason why you get up in the morning. That would be my guess.
The only drugs I've ever done are and a little bit of
You polyamorous or promiscuous
actually,
or you have orgies?
No.
Then you are probably pleasure is probably not your primary motivating
factor. It's very low
factor.
on the totem pole. Very low.
So logically,
I think also how you define pleasure can also be a little bit of an issue.
Sure.
Because so you can
Oh my god, watching Destiny's Factorio gameplay is unironically like triggering the fuck out of me. Why the f is he like deleting the items on the floor and like getting his bots to pick them up. Your bots are going to run out of power, okay? And that's going to be like, take you fucking ages.
I
Look how
think
long this is
fulfilling your
taking.
desire is what's pleasurable. And if your desire is, say, to be big and strong and jacked,
Look how long they're taking to charge now!
Me, the alpha male vegan Chad, those things that you need to do to get there are not in and of themselves pleasurable.
Look at this!
So working out,
And
like,
now,
that's hard.
if you move around, you'll like lose them, and they'll take like half an hour to get back to you. He has played this game for years. He should know what to do.
Discipline, that's hard. Eating a certain particular diet, that's hard. But achieving
Oh
that
my
goal,
god! And he's left these cliffs with like ugly deconstruction marks on them. He's left these clips with oh fuck me, man.
you know, the ideal male physique like me, that is the pleasure. And pleasure-seeking behavior
Is this going to trigger a Factorio Satisfactory relapse for you? I haven't played Satisfactory. Sorry, I haven't played Factorio on stream. Okay, I haven't. I hope Destiny goes and judges your Minecraft base. No, I haven't played Factorio on stream before, so I'm very, very tempted to do it. But Satisfactory, maybe I might leave it for a little bit. But basically, right now I'm playing like a technical pack for Minecraft, which is basically just the same thing.
Isn't necessarily hedonistic.
But this is where it goes back to the earlier part of the conversation, where I think Stephen differentiated prescriptive moral duties and pleasure seeking. And the reason why is because you can get pleasure through fulfilling your duties. So you get pleasure through public advocacy for veganism and through working out and getting fit and all that kind of stuff. But I think that most people would not call you a traditional hedonist.
Well, fundamentally, fulfilling your desires is pleasurable. And if your desire is just like instant gratification and you don't care about helping people or bettering yourself or any of these things that a lot of other people value, then your pleasure-seeking behavior will be things like casual sex. I don't like casual sex. I've done it before and I just didn't find it interesting. I don't like most. I've done them and I don't like them. So I like, when you talk about what do you care most, pleasure, like that's another issue with that sort of line of what I find pleasurable is fulfilling my desires, like making people vegan. So is pleasure going to be low on the totem pole? Like, what is meant by pleasure? Like, when you ask that sort of question to any particular individual, unless it's contextualized in a way where it's like, okay, well, are you talking about just casual sex? Or are you talking about things that you actually find pleasurable personally? If what you find pleasurable personally is achieving the most amount of power, then what? I don't know. I just see it as a stupid question.
Well, we've explained it a few times. So, Steven, Queeman said that I'm gay if I don't ask this question.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought they were joking. Dude, I thought they were joking about that earlier. Someone commented about that. I thought they were trolling me or trying to make a joke.
Were you ever as a kid?
That's a really weird question. We'll just say people can have their own sexual fantasies about me in their free time if they want. And I know that Queeman and just Skull and his Discord server, I love to fantasize about that. So
listen, Queeman, you DM'd me. You asked me to ask the question. I asked the question. I'm not gay, and Steven gave you an answer. So there we go. Okay.
I mean, that's like a yes, no? That's like a yes. Oh my god. That's like a yes and stuff. He doesn't even deny it. He doesn't even deny it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And now Connor is laughing about Destiny's sexual abuse. While Vegan Gaze just sits there kind of awkwardly. And Destiny just like wants to die and like stares at his computer screen.
Vegan Gains, I'm gonna add you.
I sent
add
you a
friend,
request.
and then if you want to schedule a time that we can debate, moral philosophy or something, I'm down in general. I do have a chat that I need to attend to for another hour, and I do have some planned content that I want to get to. Basically, but I'm down in general. Like if Steven or Vegan Gains, if you say, hey, this is a topic I want to talk to, I want to have a 3 or 4 person panel on this topic, let's all get in there and fight about it. I'm down. So it is what it is. So Steven,
Okay,
you got
I'm down.
anything else before I dip out?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. And then Vegan, good to see you again. And I wish you very well in all your endeavors. And if you want to hang out and chit chat soon, I'll be very much down.
All right, I'll message you.
Okay. Bye, buddy.
All right, see ya.
Be careful.
Well, I guess I will leave also, but hope.
There we are. There we are. We got through the entire thing, and it ended on a banger. It ended on a banger. Now, I thought someone was trolling me about that. If you were to, like, cut off your arm, like, it would hurt.